everybody to Crunch Time with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. It's Thursday, March 7th, and we're back. And we appreciate you for taking time out of your night to tune in. If you're listening via 99% of podcast platforms, then leave a 5-star review. I check Spotify. I check Spotify. There's some 5-star reviews there. So, hey, the people are listening. The people are taking action. So we appreciate
Shout out to people.
If you're watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed, this doesn't apply to those who are subscribed. Please subscribe because a majority of people that tune in do not subscribe. So we got to get that rate. We got to get the subscribe versus the not subscribed kind of in favor of the more subscribed. That's what
we love the people here. The people.
The people. That's what it's all about.
Shout out to chat, man. Love everyone.
Yeah,
absolutely. The people. I am the people's champ, if we're being honest.
That is true, Boone. That is
you are, Booner.
That is one of my nicknames.
I want to give some shout outs to those who joined since the very beginning, since the stream was up. And we got Eduardo O'Neill.
Shout out,
what
man.
What does Booner have cooked up for us today?
Hey,
we got
grilled cheese.
We got ETN. We got Charlie Adams, Shift God, Detroit Grit, Anakin Skyogre, Ubaldo. We got in here, John Hughes. We appreciate you, Lions Blood 89. Steve Wilds. We do Toyota Tundra. Thank you guys for the program. Today is a
you know I haven't seen.
And of course,
Big
Coach
John, number 77. Haven't seen him in a minute.
I saw him earlier this week. Okay.
I missed it. I missed saying that, man. Shout out Coach Walk, too, by the way.
Well, today, guys, the title of the stream, of course, is about Tim Twentyman's top 10 free agents for the Detroit Lions, which, he came out with. We'll get to that in the second hour. Yeah, we're going to have to make you wait a little bit for that one, but we're going to get to it later in the show. That'll be a lot of fun. He came out with this top 10 list, guys that fit with the Lions, and I can't wait to kind of react to it. We'll give our thoughts. Who's missing? Who do we like on the list? So on and so forth. But right now, before we get into all of that, I do want to start the show by kind of updating the people. If you haven't been on social media, if you live under a rock, if you have a flip phone for whatever reason, I'm here to update you with what's going on. All Detroit Lions and the roster moves. Today, they made some moves. And we're going to go through them a little bit. We had Booner. He was live tweeting. That man was busy. He was busy getting the information out.
I'm gonna set a thing out there too. Next week's the free agency, boys. I'm like, Easy texted me about it too, and he's like, I see you going a little bit. I'm like, I'm really just what's happening. I'm warming up for next week because free agency. I probably won't get everything NFL out there, but the Lions are gonna probably be making things happen like every hour. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna be boom, boom, boom. So make sure you guys come follow me. You could turn my alerts on. I will have things out there for you guys as boom. As the time goes. I've got my alerts on. I've got you maybe get some text messages. People, hey, Booner, this is happening. This is that. Things are happening, boys.
I'll tell you what. A couple things happened today for the Detroit Lions. And, of course, Honolulu Blues put out a nice tweet kind of recapping everything, so we don't have to pull up each individual tweet. But, these are essentially the moves the Lions made today, roster changes. The Lions did not tender defensive back / special teamer Chase Lukas as an exclusive rights free agent, making him an unrestricted free agent. Is it tender or is it tenure?
It's
usually tenure.
Tender.
Okay, tender. I just think it's just that I don't know why.
Chicken tender.
Yeah. But regardless,
I love a good chicken tender, but
we know. But
that's
not the tender
we know. Boo.
I can confirm that is not the tender they're talking about.
Okay, all right. I'll just make sure. Chase Lukas, exclusive rights free agent, making him an unrestricted free agent. They did not tender Chase Lukas, and then we got Lions re-signed Zonovan Knight, who season ended last year because of a shoulder injury, I believe. I think it was.
Yeah,
there it is. It's right there. Yeah, I didn't even read it. Knight was ruled out last season in week 5 with a shoulder injury. And then, of course, Lions tendered Brock Wright, making him a restricted free agent. So those are the moves. It's insignificant. These guys aren't, they can re-sign their own. So it's not like I saw the Dolphins sign Jonnu Smith. It's because he was already a free agent. He was already cut. Yeah. So it's not like he's it's just how it works. He was already, out there. So they signed him. So this is how this works. They're able to keep some of their guys. They did let Chase Lukas go. They're letting him test free agency. And then Brock Wright, they'll be able to match kind of whatever he gets signed to, which is, I mean, that's fine. They'll be able to do that. But I saw people talking about too when the Lions made these moves. I saw one comment. It was like, "Oh, they re-signed Zonovan Knight. No, they're not drafting a running back." It's like, guys, they were never. There's no reason they should draft a running back at all. Like, they don't need a running back. Why would you even take one?
No.
The Blake Corum
I did
over.
Yeah, I did
the
see
Blake
some.
Corum stuff.
And shout out Nick from Honolulu. He's came on, friend of the program here. He did put a mock draft out there that said Blake Corum and had him going in the third. And he did make a pitch for it. I did watch the show. And he did make a little bit of a pitch for it, but I don't like. In the pitch that he made, it was kind of more so like, hey, last year you had D-Mont go down. You've had Jameer go down. D-Mont's only here for another 2 more years. You get Blake, and you get him for 4 years. If someone does go down, say D-Mont goes down, you have Blake, who is essentially, to his point, he was like, Blake is kind of like a David Montgomery style, like running back. Like he's kind of a hard-nosed guy that's going to put it up the middle. So like to his point, that was like, that's like an automatic third running back to where if a guy goes down, Blake Corum, and then when D-Mont's out and his contract's up, you have Blake on a rookie deal. So that was his point. But Zonovan Knight and Craig Reynolds are just going to battle for that running back 3 position. And to be honest, boys, I don't know how you guys feel about this. I think it's going to be a good battle. Zonovan, I think me and Lukas were at the other place when the news came out, and if I remember correctly, we texted each other. We're like, this isn't like too bad. Am I wrong on that, Luke? I feel like that was a guy that came in, and he actually is a dude who just like he's proven himself a little bit in the league. He's had spurts.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a good 3rd, 4th string running back, and I think he's on the same level as Craig Reynolds. But at the end of the day, I would rather them roll with Craig if they have that option, because at the same time, and you saw what he did when he's not a huge running back or the fastest running back, but he's a solid running back as far as in pass protection and in blocking. Yeah. So, I mean, either way, if David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs both go down again, like you saw, it's not going to be a good situation regardless. Like, any team can lose their first 2 running backs and they're going to be a bad spot. But I don't mind having Craig Reynolds or Zonovan Knight, but I'm not jumping up and down for Zonovan returning.
Yeah,
no,
I'm content with it. And it's always good to have competition. I mean, they're obviously either of them would be RB3, and for them to just go out and compete, and they'll stick behind Monty and Gibbs. Not a big deal.
Also want to mention real quick before I kind of give my thoughts, the Lions also are working towards re-signing a special teamer, Anthony Pittman, who is like 1st or 2nd. He's up there in special team snaps. He's purely a special teamer, and they love him. So they're going to re-sign him. I don't know what the deal with Brock Wright is. They might have already re-signed him. It says restricted free agent. We'll see. They're going to bring him back. They love Brock Wright, and he's a solid backup tight end. So assuming that gets done. But for Zonovan Knight, like I don't mind this at all. He's another body in your backfield. If you want to, if you want him to compete over Craig Reynolds, I think at the end of the day, it's more of just, hey, if kind of like what Funky said, if Dave Montgomery goes down, you got a Zonovan Knight. And if Jahmyr goes down, you got a Craig Reynolds. You just need really 2 backups. I mean, unless you're in a situation where you just have injury bug all in your running back room, then they'll go outside and reach out to free agency. But to me, this is what they should do, and it's what they had to do. Unless they went out and signed a different running back, they're not drafting one this year. There's no way.
Well, no, I'm going to say this though, Jeff. To be honest, and I'm not saying they're going to, because I'm on your side. I feel like they're not going to. I don't think them bringing in Zonovan Knight takes away from them, like in late rounds grabbing a guy. I don't think it's like completely out of the picture just because they brought Zonovan back last year. Like they brought guys in undrafted free agents. They brought in free agents. They brought Zonovan in at a time. Do you guys remember when we went to the training camp? They had like 8 running backs out there, and we thought, what's his name out of Illinois? I think it was Illinois. No, not Jamar Jefferson.
Like
Mohamed Ibrahim.
We thought he was going to have a shot at getting that 3rd or 4th spot. So like, just because they brought Zonovan, like they're going to bring other running backs in. They might draft someone in the 6th, 7th round. And I'm with you. I lean towards your side, Jeff, to where I don't think they will. But I don't think it like completely goes, oh no, they're not going to. But now that just shows a little bit like they have their 4 guys. They're probably going to try and maybe bring some guys in to compete with them. And if they draft someone, I'm not going to sit here and like in the 6th, 7th round and then punch the air, like whatever.
It's just not something I would want. Because Mo was an undrafted free agent, and a lot of people like what Mo could be. There's going to be undrafted free agent running backs. I mean, your guy, Lucas Keaton Mitchell, undrafted free agent. So I
Dog,
look at it
dude.
like this, right? Let's just say the Blake Corum thing is even, let's just say in a hypothetical world, going to imagination land, it's an actual possibility. Well, you're going to have to draft him probably in the 3rd round. There's Kirby Joseph. All right. There's Kirby Joseph. You want to take him in the 6th round, running back in the 6th round? Well, there goes James Houston. Like I would rather Brad do what he does best and find talent in all 7 rounds. I don't think they need a running back. I think you can go address that somewhere else. I think maybe on the last year of David's deal, we could debate it. But until then, man, like, no, this team needs more depth and no, not running back.
They have the best running back duo in the NFL. By default, that gives them, in my opinion, the best running back depth in the NFL. Like Christian McCaffrey, best running back, but Elijah Mitchell does not sniff Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery. So if one of those guys go down, okay, they have another guy that's 1,000-yard capable back that you can just insert right there. And then what we were talking about, you got Craig, you got Zondervan. If you want to go get a veteran running back to fill that void in free agency or via trade, you can do that too. It's such a replaceable position, and that's probably the last thing the Lions need right now outside of a tackle to replace Mason.
Jeff, what if in the 4th they add a 4th round pick, make a trade, and they draft your guy Braylon Allen?
I like Braylon Allen. I just don't think they need, like, why? You know what I mean? Like,
there's other needs.
Yeah, like 4th.
I'll get one next year if you really
Ross St. Brown. Like, that's what Amon-Ra was, a 4th rounder. Like, that's just where I'm at with it. I think there's other positions they need. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If we're talking about positions they're set in, but you want depth, I would be more open. Not saying they should do this, but if you told me to pick one, running back or tight end, I would be okay with taking a tight end.
I would have loved like a Jonnu Smith. Like, as funny as that sounds, like, that's a guy that when you talk about, okay, what happens if a receiver goes down? Now you can insert another, because Laporta can block. We all saw it this year. You get another receiving threat. Love Brock Wright. He wasn't much of a receiving threat unless it was a play action bootleg where they ran him on a drag route to the other side and he was wide open for yards after the catch. Outside of that, he was a blocking guy. So maybe they think that Shane Zylstra can be that guy, but I'd rather, I mean, again, to Jeff, your point, it's not a need, but if they're going to address tight end, I would love to get a legitimate tight end too there, because it's just another wrinkle for the opposing defense.
Mm-hmm. Even a tackle, like Michael says, it's another great. I mean, to take whatever besides those 2 positions. I mean,
and guess what? They only have 3 corners now on the roster, or 2. And we talked about like there's so many needs that need to kind of get depth. Even like you need a position and you need depth at it. Like the corner position, you need to get someone who can play, and you need to get depth. So I'm with you on that, Jeff.
Well, I do want to bring this one up. PFF has a top 100 list, which they've released sections of all throughout the week. I think they started, I want to make sure I get to this correctly. So on Monday, they released numbers 101 to 81. On Tuesday, they released 80 to 61. And then Wednesday, 60 to 41. Today, they released 40 to 21. And then tomorrow, they'll come out with their 20 to 1 rankings. And we'll bring that up as well. And there was a lot of Lions who made this list, a lot. And there were also some that were left off and some that haven't appeared yet. So you'd have to assume that they're probably a top 20 player, according to PFF. So I'll go through some players that made this list, and I want to show off real quick and kind of give you some context here. So we'll start with the farthest one from one, which would be at number 84. And that would be Brian Branch, who's a top 100 player, according to PFF, as a rookie. And also I saw on this list, I think Stroud was like 90 something.
He was 100, I think.
Or 100. Yeah, which was kind of crazy as it is. But as you can see here, Brian Branch and Jared Goff back-to-back on this list, 84, 83. And right here for Brian Branch, it says Branch was among the Lions' stable of talented rookies, showing them that measurables and NFL combine times aren't everything. He was installed as the team's primary slot defender and earned impressive PFF grades across the board, with 11 pass breakups to go with 3 interceptions. At 83, they have Jared Goff, and they write, with offensive coordinator Ben Johnson staying for another year, Goff continued to thrive for the Lions. He had a strange collapse for a run of division games midway through the season, but outside of that, he played at an all-pro level for the Lions. Now, to kind of give you a kind of a picture of where they're at, you got Jason Kelsey, Denzel Ward behind them, TJ Hawkinson at 88, and then Jordan Love, and so on and so forth. I mean, these guys, I mean, the only one, look at Darius Williams. That's the guy that we've been talking about at 93, the free agent.
Shout out. That's the guy, man.
Yep.
How is CJ Stroud 100? That makes no sense. Jordan Love below him.
And Jordan Love start to the season too.
What the fuck?
Woke sports.
Yeah, and then you have CJ at 100, Goff almost 20 spots higher. I mean, the way CJ Stroud played, I don't know about that. I think he should be way higher. But
he had like the best rookie season of all time ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little maybe not like. I mean, the touchdown interception ratio was super impressive. He didn't throw for 30 plus touchdowns, but if you watch, dude, like he was it was effortless. I mean, it was. Now, I want to bring this up. Brian Branch, Jared Goff, you see it. As a rookie, Brian Branch is already a top 100 player. Jared Goff is. Maybe he should be a little higher, depending on how you look at it, or he's just right. And I'll ask you guys that. We'll start with Jared Goff, then we'll get to Brian Branch. Jared Goff at 83, too high, too low, just right.
I think I personally would say just right.
Yeah, I would say just right, but you still kind of got to see the rest of the list. I mean, I haven't looked at it all. I don't know if you guys have, but I mean, CJ Stroud being 100 is already a little fishy to me.
Yeah, I think CJ Stroud probably could be higher up, but like where Goff is, I think Goff, again, like we did our top 10 quarterback list here and we kind of broke that down. And we agreed Goff was top 10. And when you break down this list and you look at the guys ahead of him, there's a couple that I'm not a big fan of. Like I'm pretty sure Jalen Hurts was ahead of Jared Goff. And I think last season I would rather take Jared Goff. Yep.
Let me give you context real quick, Booner, just to give you some context so I can read off there so the guys know too. Jalen Hurts was 72.
Okay.
And then you have, let me get one more quarterback. Matthew Stafford was at 58.
See, that's where I think Goff's in a good spot there at 83. Like again, like the CJ Stroud at 100, that's questionable. But like when we did our top 10, I think one of the questions, even in like the chat and all of us, like when we were sitting there, we were like, all right, who would you rather take, Matthew Stafford last year or Jared Goff? Like it was kind of a back and forth, and we ended up settling. I can't remember which one. I don't even remember which one it was because we were so back and forth on that. The only one I wouldn't have was like Jalen Hurts. CJ Stroud should be ahead of Jalen Hurts this year. Like CJ Stroud should be ahead of Jared Goff. Like CJ Stroud had a top, just like Jared Goff, in my opinion, like statistically wise, top 5 year. I mean, we had CJ Stroud at 5th in our quarterback rankings for last season. 5th. And he's sitting there at 90 something or 100. I mean, and Jalen Hurts is above both of them. Like Jalen Hurts shouldn't be on this list. These guys should move up. And Stafford, I'm fine with that. I think it's a good spot. I think I'm happy he's on the list, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's hard to base like what the context of all these numbers are off of. So I don't hate it. I think it's a little high for Jared Goff. You're gonna have CJ Stroud and Jordan Love right behind him because honestly, if you're just going off of the players that they were last year, Jordan Love struggled earlier, but I think you could have an argument for Jordan Love, and I don't even think it's an argument with who's better between Goff or Stroud this year. But then you can't be too mad at it because to Booner's point, you have Jalen Hurts on there. So I don't hate it. If you're going off the context of just best quarterbacks, it's probably a little high based on the guys that are around them, but it's close. I'm not upset about it. Obviously, if they want to have him higher, I'm not complaining.
Mike, I agree with this comment. Stroud and Goff should be higher than Hurts if it's based on last season, which the list is. It's based on last season, which I don't know in what world you can have. I mean, I know Stafford towards the end of the year played really well, but if you take the total season, I mean, I don't agree. Stafford missed some games early on. It has to count for something. And I love Stafford, but you got to be fair here with Jared, in my opinion. I think Jared should be higher than a couple guys, to be honest with you. Not significantly higher, but he is a little low, in my opinion. He is.
I just think it's weird. It's hard to base it just because you don't know where PFF are getting these grades from. They tell you where they're getting them from, but they make no sense. Like, what does this even mean? Average depth of route ran while having a corner or a yard off, it counts as a grade. Like, who gives a fuck? Sorry.
Is this ranked by their PFF grade? Because I'm pretty sure if it was, was it Jeff?
So
or was it just a writer that did it?
Stroud's 100 then.
So let me read what they wrote. This is their criteria. It says this list is based solely on play in 2023. Wow, that's funny. Past or future play is not accounted for. This isn't about class or talent. It's about performance throughout the 2023 NFL season. Well, then you're wrong. But they also write, this list is created with an all positions are equal mantra. So you won't see 32 quarterbacks heading the list, even though it's the game's most valuable position. It says here, unlike PFF awards, the 101 factors in the postseason. So some players who won PFF awards more find themselves jumped into 101 by rivals who had a playoff run worthy of a change in ranking.
Whoa. Stop that real quick. Stop that real quick. If it's my postseason, Jalen Hurts shouldn't even be near this list. Not even near it. CJ Stroud and Jared Goff should be. And if we're really talking postseason, Jared Goff should be ahead of Matthew Stafford because he beat him head to head and he put up the stats and he went to an NFC championship.
He had better statistics than Stafford, too.
These writers, PFF, they need to figure this thing out here. I think the Heavies had a PFF like draft analyst. We need to talk to him and figure out what his company, what they're doing over there, because that's ridiculous. Like, at least take that out if you're going to have the way the rankings are now. Take the playoffs out of it because that's ridiculous.
Well, not too far from Jared Goff. He was ranked at 83, 79, and 78 are back-to-back Lions as well. You have tight end Sam Laporta, and I'll get this on the screen for you guys.
Dog.
So, all right, let me pop this. Okay. 79, tight end Sam Laporta made the list, and then 78, Aleem McNeil.
So I didn't think Aleem would be on here.
So far, we have 2 offensive players in the top 101 from last season, and 2, defensive and offensive.
Yep.
You get both. So you have Sam Laporta, Aleem McNeil. By the way, 2 rookies. Think about that for a second.
Should be 3.
Yeah, and it says here, I'll read Sam's thing. It says the rookie Laporta was one of the stars of the 2023 for the Lions offense. He had 10 touchdowns in the regular season and added another in the wild card round against the Rams. A late injury impacted his effectiveness, but he still notched more than 1,000 receiving yards.
That's wrong. This whole thing, man. PFF,
they need together, man.
Oh,
yeah, this is an L. What?
Maybe they're counting like postseason.
Yeah. That's what they're talking about. That's fair.
Now we look dumb.
And then Aleem McNeil, by the way, only 1 spot behind free agent Christian Wilkins, who wants $20 million plus.
That's kind of wild.
And Christian Wilkins had 9 sacks. But you see here, Aleem McNeil, Detroit's defensive front had been just Aiden Hutchinson at times, but Aleem McNeil really took an important step forward in 2023. He posted it. Oh, here we go. 86.8 PFF grade for the season, notching 43 quarterback pressures and 20 defensive stops. You compare it to Christian Wilkins, guys. He had 43 quarterback pressures. Christian Wilkins had 61. He had 20 defensive stops. Christian Wilkins had 34.
Make that make sense.
I'm
not mad at where Aleem is. I'm kind of mad at where they put Christian Wilkins in this. Christian Wilkins is a dog, is a monster.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw this out there, and again, like, I'm kind of with Lucas. I'm not mad at where Aleem. Like, I'm not gonna go at Aleem. Aleem deserves to be on this list. Sam Laporta should be way higher. If Aleem's sitting there in the 7, if Aleem's at 78, Sam Laporta, he is second team All Pro at his position. Like,
that's true.
He should be like, I love Aleem. He wasn't even a Pro Bowler, and I know it's different positions. It's tough, like,
or all pro,
or all pro or Pro Bowler. Like, he was neither, and it's nothing against Aleem because I think he should be on this list. I think he's one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
If he didn't get hurt, I think he probably could have been a Pro Bowler this year. But Sam Laporta went out there and he was an All Pro. He was a Pro Bowler. Like, he went out and did it. I think it's either you move him up or you move Aleem back, because I know this is like, it's crazy that we're in a position as Lions fans and kind of talking about this on air, that like we're sitting here like, oh, well, this Lions player should be here and here. Like, we have Lions players on here, we could talk about that, but it should be flopped and it should be a little bit more spacing, in my opinion. That's just where I'm at with it. Shout out to Aleem, though. He deserves to be on this list.
That's what I was going to say. I think Aleem's still going to get better every year, and he really has since he's joined the Lions. But Sam Laporta was like top 3, top 5, however you look at it, at his position in the league. So I could even argue Branch and Goff should be in front of Aleem, but I still like it. I mean, it is Aleem, but I still think Laporta, like Booner said, should be way down on this list, if anything.
So if you think about it, guys, they have 4 players in the top 100 already. We're not even done. So it kind of speaks to, and by the way, 2 of them are rookies so far. The Aleem thing, I mean, they talked about they're not valuing positions like quarterback's the most important. So, of course, they're ranked higher. They're just going off just players. And I agree. I think Sam Laporta deserves to be higher. Now, if you're not going
to over Hawk at least. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Jeff.
Yeah, no, you're good. I think they had him like 20 spots over Hawk, which that's, you know what, hey, that's personal. Take that. Yeah, no, we'll take that for sure. So then they have, honestly, just to quickly mention, they have Devon Witherspoon at 75. But those are the two. They also have, and there's one more player here, and you go down. So you got some guards, right? You got a Joe Thuney, and you got Daniil Hunter at 65. I want to keep going here. By the way, see some 49ers here as well. I think, honestly, besides the Lions, they're the only team in the NFC that has many, I think, players in the top.
I keep seeing Quinyon Mitchell pop up there. Is that a sign? Do you see that? Can you go back real quick?
Yeah, they also had Bo Nix at the top, Booner. Oh, okay. I saw that at the beginning. I was like, oh, shit.
I did see Jalen Carter on there. You did swipe past him.
Yep, Jalen Carter.
No
and
way.
you have Frank Ragnow at 25.
Okay.
Right. 25. It says Ragnow was a bulldozer all season for the Lions offensive line. His 91.3 PFF run blocking grade was the best of any center in the game. I know, because he is the best center in the game. And he performed some late season heroics by battling through injuries to anchor the middle of that line in critical situations to keep Detroit's season on track. Well, I'll tell you one thing, fellas. The players that haven't been mentioned yet, and they're not on this list, Panay Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then two players that haven't been mentioned, but I don't think they're on this list at all, are Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, which I think they're probably
another one.
What about Hutch?
Aiden Hutchinson.
Yes,
I don't know if Hutch. Well, he did kind of go crazy PFF wise. Like,
so you're gonna have three more Lions on this list, which would make it 8 in total. 8 Lions potentially we think will be on this list, which that is unreal.
Yeah, if Daniil Hunter's at 66, there's no way that Hutch is on this list, or at least should be. And that's not even trying to take a shot. But if you're going with Hunter at 66, Hutch.
Where do you think they have Panay at?
Top 5.
Yeah, Panay should be top 5.
I bet she's like 5th.
Bet she's like 8.
He should be top 5, between top 5 and top 10.
Yeah, you got top 10 lock guaranteed. I think Amon-Ra, I think, will be probably like 13 to 15 range. That would be my guess. And then I think Panay is easy top 10. I think there's a chance you see him like 5th. Like he's the best offensive lineman in the game right now. And typically you'll see those guys in these lists like really high up. Like it'll be like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and then it'll be like a lineman here and there. So real quick, the Gibbs thing too. I think there's an argument you could say Gibbs is in there. They have James Conner at 80. I personally, I would rather have Jahmyr Gibbs than James Conner.
Yeah, what other running backs are in there? If Gibbs isn't in there.
The only one that and there was a lot of running backs in there. The only one when I went through the list that I could really be like, this Gibbs should be in over him was the very first running back on the list was James Conner at 80. And then after that, like later on is there's like Derrick Henry, which I think that's fine. Like guys like that.
James Conner just like appear from the ether or something? Wasn't he hurt like a good amount of this year?
He played 13 games and he had like 1,200 all-purpose yards. So like I see that, but I mean he had 7 touchdowns maybe. Gibbs had 14 total, and we're talking on the playoffs counted, right? He scored in every playoff game and he put numbers up. So like you would have to take Gibbs over like that's where I think that's a little disrespectful at that point.
I think there will be 7. I don't know. I don't think Aiden will make the list. I just with who they had, Daniil Hunter. I think Daniil he was a defensive player of the year candidate, and if he's in like the 40s, wherever he was, I just don't see how Aiden could make the list at this point. Maybe I'm wrong. I think I would disagree respectfully if he was on this list, but I do think I'm with you, Boone. Jahmyr Gibbs, you could probably make an argument for. Just because of who they have. I think you can make an argument for both David and Jahmyr just because of the James Conner thing. Like I don't, and it's not like he had an awful year, but they had comparable years to me. Mm-hmm. So I mean,
the fact that there's another like for like Gibbs and Monty, like there's another guy they're sharing the ball with and sharing the backfield with, and they're both still basically putting the same numbers up as James Conner. I think alone shows like if they were by themselves with this offensive line, they would put way bigger numbers up if they were getting the touches that I'm sure James Conner got.
Right. Yeah, you see this comment too. Aiden had an elite PFF grade, and that's the
Maybe
thing.
he will.
What are we basing it off of? Are we basing it off
but they-
football, or are we basing it off PFF grades? Because if we're talking just like football, and this isn't even a slight at Aiden, like Daniil had a better year. Like I don't think there's anybody in their right mind that would disagree with that.
I wonder who's off the list right now that we could say is in that top 20. Like, I'm interested. Like, there's a couple edge rushers that are missing. TJ Watt.
I'm sure
Micah
Max
Parsons.
Crosby, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons. I don't know if I said Max Crosby already, but he'll definitely be in there. Josh Allen probably could be.
Josh Allen.
And like we all love Hutch, but even Josh Allen, like Aiden Hutchinson was not even on Josh Allen's level this year. And it might not be his fault because he was getting way more attention than those other guys. But you can't just ignore that and say, oh, yeah, he's up there with these guys, even though he didn't match the production. I don't think that's fair.
Well, I will say L'Jarius, just some honorable mentions. L'Jarius Sneed came in at 56. And also Josh Allen was on this list.
He was? Okay.
Yes, which that would make the case for Aiden not being on it even stronger because Josh is here. So, I mean, where do you put him? I thought you were talking about the quarterback for a second, and I was like, yeah, he's going to be on the list. Yeah, because Trey Hendrickson is at 43. Yep, Josh Allen's at 38. The edge, of course, out of from Jacksonville.
Okay, yeah, Hutch won't be on it then.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, I don't unless they can find a way to spin some PFF grades. I mean, and listen, we love Hutch, and I think Hutch is kind of he's shooting into that tier of top edge rushers, but. I mean, based on last year, Chris Jones is at 26 or 27.
Are there any edges towards the back? Like the 80s, 90s?
Yeah. I mean, there are. If you look at the back end, just kind of creeping, and I'll read them off as I go here. You had, like I said, Christian Wilkins at 77, Aleem at 78. Those are defensive linemen strictly, but more edge rushers. There, Kobe Turner was at 87. He's a defensive tackle. There's no edges that I see. So no, there's no edges kind of on the back half. So the guys I kind of went through with Daniil Hunter, Josh Allen, Trey Hendrickson, they're all kind of in the middle there. And you can't make an argument to me that Chris Jones at 26, 27, Aiden's 10 spots ahead of Chris Jones. Yeah. Like that's a little.
Yeah, I don't think he gets in it. He should have been if he was in it. He should have been like in the 80 to 100 range. We
haven't even got to Myles Garrett and TJ Watt
or Micah Parsons.
Parsons. So
Max Crosby. Like there's four edge rushers right there who are in the top 20. That's 4 out of the 20. Nick Bosa, that's 5 out of 20 right there. And we haven't even gotten to Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, those guys yet. Penei Sewell, Trent Williams, Amon-Ra, Tyreek Hill, CD Lamb, like that's like 12 guys, 13 guys right there.
Quarterbacks,
quarterbacks. There's probably some more defensive guys. Bobby Wagner, I'm sure he will. I didn't see him on the list. He had a year like
Bobby ain't getting it this year.
Led the lead in tackles though. Like
but he's not. Yeah,
PFF wise, that's PFF wise, brother.
Well,
maybe, but he shouldn't be.
I mean, guys, looking at this list, one of my takeaways is kind of bringing it back to Brad Holmes is comparing the young players on this list, even rookies, to the Lions. There's not a team that even touches them. But you could argue the Eagles because they have Jalen Carter on here. But the Lions have what? They have Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, and those are 2 rookies. So, where do you go from there? Like that's a hard to beat. I mean, you have Devon Witherspoon here, but they don't have any other rookies, double rookies. So, I mean, it speaks also.
Puka on there?
Puka's on there. So
Puka's really high.
Actually, that would be yes. You know what?
The Rams
have 2. Kobe Turner and then Puka Nacua. So the Rams are the only team, of course, ironically, where Brad Holmes came from. And this is like what's different about what Brad's doing is typically when teams are drafting, you're not hitting on as many players as Brad's hitting on. So you have to find a way to re-sign these guys. If Brad continues to hit at this rate, you may not see guys re-sign, but you're going to see sustainable success because of his ability to replace players. That honestly, that's something that most GMs or a majority can't do. So like that's like that just kind of solidifies how much of a god he is.
Hey,
through the draft.
I had this thought today. This is kind of to that sense and not this top 100 list, but I just had the thought with Brad and what he's building, because I saw a tweet and someone was like, obviously like about the whole L'Jarius Sneed and signing these big players and this and that. And then I saw someone kind of tweet out there and mention how, typically when you're going on these, 7-10 year runs and you're trying to build something, like typically those teams, and it popped in my head, like they're built through the draft a lot. And they're really like these big splashes that we all want these teams to make. When I started thinking of just teams that dominated in the 2000s, like even to now, like as we were growing up, a lot of those teams do like the Ravens, like the 49ers for a while, the Patriots, like they were pretty good at, like they were really good at draft. Like the Steelers have been good for so long. They're always over 500. Guess what they do really well? Mike Tomlin and them draft like extremely well, and they get young guys like Lukas. It feels like the last year, like there was a couple of guys that you called out like rookies that like they're just always drafting well. And I think that's where like the difference is from like, hey, let's make these big splashes, to look at this list right here and look at, you have 2 rookies on here from Brad Holmes, and you have other young guys like Aleem McNeil who he's drafted, and like I'm trying to think, Amon Ra's going to be on there, and Penei is going to be on there. Like these are guys that he's drafting, and we're going to have like 5 or 6 dudes that he's already drafted the last 3 years in the top 100 list. That to me is insane. And like, that's where some of these teams have such long-term success. Like the Steelers and the Ravens and these teams, they just draft so well, and they might have to move on from guys, but they just keep drafting.
And Lucas, like my takeaway, and I'll throw this to you and Gentry on this. By the way, the Texans have 2. They have multiple guys too. Will Anderson. Not Will Anderson. I'm sorry. They had C.J. Stroud, and I don't think they had another rookie.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
So
I saw Stingley on there, but
but he's obviously he's not a rookie. I will say this about kind of to Booner's point about that's what good teams, great teams do. You only can name a handful of teams that are able to do that. Not only teams that can develop players like the Patriots have always been able to do, because the Patriots, I mean, when Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, they're selecting guys that you're like, who is this? But then they end up developing. It seems like the Lions get talent and they develop them. So, I mean, there's kind of the difference. Like the Steelers are kind of one of those teams too, where they draft guys and you're like, oh, okay. And then they find a way to turn these guys into great players. It's not always like splash draft picks. Same with kind of Brad. But Brad's drafting like a Brian Branch. It's not like he came out of nowhere. We knew he was the best safety, but he found a way to get him. And that goes for a lot more players. So to kind of Booner's point, Lucas and Gentry. Yeah, the Chiefs are another one. I didn't say Brett Veach, Les Snead, Howie Roseman, Brad Holmes,
John Lynch.
I would say even John Schneider from the Seahawks, but there's only like 5 GMs that are on that level. Too,
I don't think times are that different. Like you're seeing like the Chiefs, like a lot of those guys they're trying to re-sign guys. Like they've drafted a lot of those guys the Chiefs have. Obviously they have Patrick Mahomes, but those guys are drafted. The Steelers, they're still going over 500 every year. And obviously they haven't won a ton. The 49ers, outside of Christian McCaffrey, guess what? They drafted a lot of those dudes. Like that's just like the teams that are like, there's these teams that have like one big year, like the Rams and this and that. The teams that are constantly in the conference championship and in the playoffs every year, winning their division, the Packers have done it. Like they are constantly drafting really good teams or really good players.
Yeah, and I think what kind of makes the Lions a little bit different is you go back and you look all the rebuilds that you mentioned, even with the Steelers, with Ben Roethlisberger, the Ravens with Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson, the Patriots with Tom Brady, the 49ers with Brock Purdy. A lot of these times, these rebuilds, when they happen, they're developing around a young quarterback. And the Lions are doing it with Jared Goff, who's essentially in his prime right now. So that allows them to not even – they're going to have to sweat about the quarterback position as far as the contract down the road. But for these first couple of years, they didn't have to worry about development. So they could just add talent. They added all of these levels. So now it's like that's all they really need to do. They're set up for success already. So to your guys' point, I think it's really hard outside of injuries if Brad Holmes keeps doing what he does for there not to be extremely long-term success for this franchise, because you can even have the excuse of, oh, well, they have, and obviously we're not calling him that, but if Jared Goff leaves, they have that potential rookie quarterback that all the other teams had just sitting behind right now and grooming. So that adds even more potential years onto where this franchise can be.
Yeah, and also I want to mention one more GM, Eric DaCosta from the Ravens. That's another guy.
Yeah.
He's a good GM. They find talent.
Ozzie Roseman before them would not miss. Or Ozzie Newsome, my fault. Ozzie Newsome.
Yep,
Ozzie would not miss.
There's another one. So, it's different. If you could draft talent, that's the tandem between a great head coach and a great GM. Is the GM's job is to find talent, evaluate talent. The coach's job is to develop talent, the coaching staff. And it seems like the Lions have both those things pretty much set. Like Brad Holmes is like, all right, I'll cook the meal. Dan, you kind of season it. You make it you make it look even prettier, and then we'll get it out to the customer. That seems like what's going on here. It's a pretty good tandem there with those two and the coaching staff.
I'm not going to take away too Terrell FL there. He like these teams, like, you do have to go out and get someone every once in a while too. It's not like I'm not saying no, don't ever do it, but like the number one thing, like if you want long-term success, the number one thing to me comes down to drafting. And the reason I say that too, and I think it's Brad Holmes. That's what he's good at. That, like, he is good at drafting. That's what you have. And then at the same time, Dan Campbell, he brings in these coaches who are former players, and they know how to develop. And if they're not doing well, look what he just did about 3 weeks ago. He let about 4 of them go, and he brought in 4 new former players, and they're all coaches now. And he's going to keep developing. So, like, I think the reason I bring it up is just like I was thinking today, like, Brad and Dan, like they have the kind of formula of success right now, and I think it's truly something long. Like the Booner path. When I say 6 years, fellas, like it popped in my head again today. I'm like, this is like I just keep getting more and more like just locked in on this. I'm like, dude, this is going to be something special, and I'm excited. I feel like we're getting towards that like little, not dynasty because we have to win, but like I'm just like golden era here for the next 10 years.
And also fans have to get used to the idea, and I'm sure a lot of fans know it, especially if you've been following the NFL for a while, that you can't fall in love with every player, because the Patriots did. Speaking of the Patriots would draft guys that are these just incredible, talented players, and then they just let them walk. Mm-hmm. And people have to understand that that's going to happen. Like Brad Holmes is hitting on so many talented players that you're not going to be able to keep all of them. You're just not. And I think that's what's unfortunate about this. When you find a Brian Branch, not saying it'll be Brian, but let's just take Kirby, for example, or someone like that, where you like the player so much, but it's going to come to a point where you just can't re-sign them. You're unable to, unless they figure out a way and you bring in a rookie quarterback. But there's a whole thing behind it. But
do you want a perfect example? Iffy. Like, if he's already, this is his last year on his contract going into this year.
There's another one, and I'm curious. That's what's going to happen. So,
like, if he shows out the way, if he shows out the way we think he is, and did what he did the last 5 games, 6 games this year, like, that's a guy who's going to probably need to get paid then, and that's a guy that Detroit has. He'll probably get a tag, to be honest. Yeah, that's probably spot on. But like, Detroit's falling in love with him, and if you can't pay every safety back there. You've got Iffy, you've got Kirby, now you got Brian Branch, like. Look at the safety situation.
Yeah, I was about to say, look at what happened with safeties the past couple of days. So paying one, who knows?
Well, I want to address this one because Harold Williams says Bill got away with that because he had Tom Brady. True, but also you guys remember their defense. I mean, they'd let Chandler Jones just walk, and they'd still.
They brought in Randy Moss, let him walk.
Dude, they drafted so many dogs though on that defense.
That was kind of my premise. Offense, I get they have Tom Brady, and in general, winning Super Bowls. I'm not saying you'll have the success the Patriots have. I get they have Tom Brady, and that's a whole nother argument. But what I'm saying is, look at what their defense was able to do, even though they let players just walk, like great players. Or if guys needed a contract, it's like, oh, too bad, get traded, and they'd still be
you would be lying to yourself if you said that their defense and the way they drafted and how they developed guys wasn't a big reason they won all those Super Bowls. And you guys know me, I'm the biggest Tom Brady guy, Michigan man, like, absolutely, all of that. And I will be the first. Like, I'll argue with Flannel because Flannel hates Tom Brady, and I'll go head to head with him about Tom Brady. But guess what? Bill Belichick drafted some dogs every year, dude, on that defense. Go look at some of those draft picks. So, like, dude, I wonder how many Hall of Famers or some all-pro like defensive guys he drafted. I would love to see that stat because it's probably insane.
The thing that's like at least is attractive for Lions fans' perspective, especially on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of those players outside of Brady, for the most part, after they left New England, they didn't reach the status and the level of play that they were in New England. So I think like a Kirby, like you guys were talking about, I think if he goes somewhere else, I'm not saying he's going to be a bum, but especially just with having Aaron Glenn, having Brian Branch, like a solid safety room around him, I think it's very possible that when these players start leaving, that they're not going to get up to that level just because they're not in the same environment as Detroit, because that matters. There's a certain standard that's set in that locker room. And as far as training, how you eat, how you practice, how you play, everything. You got to meet that standard. And it's not the same in other locker rooms. And that was put on perfect display when you look at the Baltimores, the Pittsburgh, and the Patriots of old teams. And I think that's what the Lions are going to be as well.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
that.
when you
that gets me. Ugh. Sorry.
Detroit City from the top ropes.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I would pay to have D-Mac fight Sam, as long as Sam agrees to it contractually. I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be a Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. This would be a fair.
He needs some headgear. Give Flannel some headgear. Like, let's make this.
Might need more than headgear.
Yeah, I mean, it just would.
The Jake Paul Mike Tyson thing. I mean, what are we doing here, fellas?
Where did that even come from?
Oh my gosh!
How did that start?
I don't know if I feel like Mike Tyson's going to actually be Mike Tyson and knock him out, or it's just he's 60 years old and it's an old Mike Tyson and Jake Paul is just going to knock Mike. Like, that would be devastating to see Mike Tyson get knocked out. I would hate that, dude.
Jake Paul,
I don't think he would let that happen.
No, but dude, he's 60. He doesn't have a choice. When
There's
that
some
old,
guys,
dude,
where it just takes one. It takes one, and I don't think Jake Paul has one to get on Mike Tyson. And if it's for money, then maybe. But at 60-year-old Mike Tyson hits harder than Jake Paul ever will in his life.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, imagine if Mike Tyson knocked Jake Paul out. That would be awesome, dude. That would be something.
Well, I'll tell you what, fellas.
Bites half his ear off.
Hey.
Oh, imagine that would be sick, dude. I would pay money to get in a ring with Mike Tyson and let him bite my ear off.
Mike's going to get paid a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, I'll tell you, Jonah Jackson probably won't sniff anywhere close to that payout, but Jonah Jackson is somebody that kind of ties back to what we were talking about, is a player that you might have to just be okay with letting walk. And you're seeing some guards re-sign today. Actually, the Rams, a shout out to you, ETN, by the way, their starting right guard, Kevin Dotson, just re-signed. And for people that don't know Kevin Dotson, he is a really good guard. He's the top guard in the league. I mean, he was if you want to rely on PFF, he was the second highest graded guard behind Chris Lindstrom, right behind him. Kevin Dotson was. And he just re-signed with the Rams, kind of getting a picture of what Jonah Jackson's contract would kind of look like. He re-signed to the Rams for 3 years for $48 million. So, I mean, 3 for 48 for Kevin Dotson. Like, guys, I think we're getting to the point where it's like, I don't know what this is Jonah's first payday. He's walking. I think I could see a Commanders reaching out and being like, hey, Jonah, come over here. We'll pay you 15 per. I don't see how Jonah stays, even if he asks for a little bit of a discount. I just think you could put that money elsewhere, to be honest, and go draft another guard.
Yeah.
15 seems like a lot, Jeff. And this tweet real quick. I'm just gonna read this off real quick because so the guy we talking about, he got 3 years. How much? What was the price?
It was 3 for 48, so about 16.
48. So earlier as well, Jaguars guard Ezra Cleveland signed for 3 years, $28 million with 14 guaranteed. Justin Rogers tweeted this out. He said PFF had predicted 3 years, $24 million for Ezra Cleveland, which basically they were $4 million off. So it was 24 to 28. He tweeted out and said that PFF also has Jonah Jackson projected at 3 years, a little over $30 million. So they were a little spot on with that. And same with Spotrac and Over the Cap. When they kind of project these, they're a little bit spot on because it's like the average of what it is now. So to your point, like the 15 million, I feel like that's pretty high. If you can get Jonah, which if they're projecting 3 years, 30 million, about 10 million, 11 million a year, are you guys saying no to that? Like, I'm not letting him walk at that price. That's like a little bit of a discount, but that's like to that point, like Ezra Cleveland signed that today. I get the other contract, but if they have that projection, these projections are pretty close, typically 4 to 5 million, like a couple million off maybe over the span of 3 years. So what, 12 million? Like, I'm paying them 12 million to come back. I don't know about you guys. I don't really care about the injuries or anything, to keep that line together.
Yeah, the price of guards is just like, obviously you've seen it's gone up today. And I was all for keeping the offensive line together, but now like the more I see it, I don't know if Brad's willing to pay that price tag when he could also just kind of build through the draft, maybe sign someone for cheaper. I was kind of all for it, like I said, but now that you're kind of seeing more guys and like I said, that price tag go up, I'm kind of seeing Jonah's time here come to an end, in my opinion. But like you said, 9 to 10 million. I don't think I would hate that by any means, but I just feel like he could probably get more somewhere else. I don't know if I'm wrong there.
No,
If he gets paid a
definitely
bag, go ahead, do it.
No, I mean, if you bring him back for $12 million, I would happily take that. But Ezra Cleveland, he got traded from Minnesota to Jacksonville, and then he took he's a solid guard. But how much was his annual salary again, Booner? Just so I'm not going off base here.
Hold on. So it said his projection was 3 years 24, and he got 3 years 28.
So it'll be what? That's how much is 3 years? So it's a little under like 8-9 million around there. So if he's getting that, I'm gonna
9.5.
If he's getting that, I don't see any way that Jonah's gonna accept anything under like 13. Because Ezra Cleveland, like he had his first really solid season this year. Jonah Jackson's been a Pro Bowler. He's been a part of this culture. Like he has a lot more leverage than Ezra Cleveland does. And the Lions don't need Jonah Jackson like the Jaguars need Ezra Cleveland because they don't have a tackle. They don't have a Penei Sewell. They don't have a Frank Ragnow. Like that is their offensive lineman. Cam Robinson was supposed to be nice for him, but I think he either got suspended or hurt, one of the two. But I just think it's a different situation. I'm not going to outrule it and say Booner like the Spotrac thing's incorrect because obviously they hit on it, but I just don't think that Jonah would take a 3-year, $10 million deal. Or 3-year, $30 million deal.
Do you guys not think like the injury situation has anything like some teams he might not be as valuable as we think because some teams will kind of come back with that. Hey, you've missed some games. There's been these injury situations.
I mean, you can, but then there's teams that need them. You know what I mean? Like there's teams that have no offensive line help that have money to spend that would be like, all right, yeah, you're hurt for some games, but you're better than our backup left guard that we've been trotting out there and just having a replacing door with for the last 3 seasons. Let's get Jonah Jackson and the guard that we've been developing. He can develop behind Jonah. And then when Jonah's hurt, we play him there. There's going to be a team willing to offer Jonah a bag.
I will say this. I'm not trying to pay him that much money. Yeah, I'm not trying to pay him that much money. Like Alan in the chat just put, hopefully Jonah is not declining with injury situations. If say the Lions do pay him a little bit of a bag, like a 13 million, 12 million, and that decline is happening right now, that's a tough spot when you're trying to build a Super Bowl roster. That's a tough contract to have on the books.
I think that's a real possibility because I say it with Levi all the time, and I think it applies to every lineman out there outside of like the just freaking natures who have the genetics to just heal properly. If you're an offensive lineman, especially a guard who's pulling all the time, having lower body, especially knee injuries, those aren't going away. They might be healed from what they were, but at some point they are going to reoccur. There's too much weight that they carry around that they're moving in angles and they're getting pushed back by bigger defensive ends. They're falling into players. Players are falling into them. Injuries are going to happen. And once they happen, they don't go away, especially for linemen.
Yeah. I mean, Jonah to me, guys, I'm cool. He could leave. I'm cool. Yeah. Because I don't think to Booner's scenario, I don't think that is a scenario, to be honest with you. I mean, he's 27 years old. He's made the Pro Bowl. He just had a kid. He wants to get paid. And I support that. Go get your bag, Jonah. Like, I'm cool. I'm never going to knock a man for trying to get his money, especially for his family. Like, I have no problem with that. I just don't think it'll be with the Detroit Lions. Like, good riddance. But to be honest, you're not paying a guard, a Jonah, and I would think projector. I mean, you look at the AAVs of some guards in the league. Quentin Nelson, his AAV is 20 million, just to kind of give you a scale. Zach
what
Martin,
does AAV mean?
Average annual value.
Okay.
So it's basically overall money divided by years. It's just kind of how just give you an idea here. So Quentin's at 20, Lindstrom's at a little over 20, Martin's at 18. You go down a little bit. Joe Thuney is at 16. Joe Batonio's at 16. Wyatt Teller's at 14. Shaq Mason's at 12. Like if I'm just kind of going through some names. Like if I'm Jonah, I'm asking for between 12 to 14, and I'm cool. Like I'm not paying Jonah that. So and go join the Commanders are going to want him. The only way I see this happening, and I'll say this as like a little, just because I don't think he'll resign. But if he does, it'll be Jonah, and I'd be surprised. But it'd be Jonah being like, you know what, we're close. We're in the Super Bowl chase. I want to stay here for under 10 million. Like I'm cool with then. Yeah. Like to Booner's point, then I'm open to it. I just don't think it'll happen. I don't think it should happen. If I'm Jonah, I want to get paid.
I'm 100% with you on that. And there might be, we don't know. And I'm with you again. He probably wants to get paid. There are guys on this team, like do you think if we weren't in this little Super Bowl run era, Frank Ragnow doesn't retire? Like that, we had that conversation a couple weeks ago. Like there's going to be some people, and like these offensive linemen are going to have conversations. Jared Goff's going to talk to the O-line. He's going to probably speak with Jonah. They're going to all like, hey guys, we're like right there. Like we can go win the Lombardi next year. And if a sacrifice of $3 million is what Jonah has to make to do that, then I'm with you, Jeff. Like if he takes 9, like go ahead, let's do that. It's a $3 million difference from 12. I'm in on that. So, but again, go get your money. But there is a guy potentially in the 3rd round out of Kansas State, name's Cooper Beebe, and according to my records and my scouting, that might be a guy that can play right away. That might be a guy that can step in right away, named Cooper Beebe, who goes out there and he will take down multiple guys at one time. Oh, love it. Give me Cooper Beebe. Home.
Well,
if you don't sign Jonah, go get me Cooper Beebe. As Spenny says, baby.
I mean, think about what Amon-Ra St. Brown made. Let's just go with like if you actually draft a guard. This isn't Jackson Powers Johnson, but if you draft a guard in the 3rd, 4th round, like you talk about those 4th round contracts, you're probably going to sign around a $4-5 million contract for 4 years. Like, guys, would I rather have a starting guard for that? And I could allocate that money to, I don't know, Penei Sewell coming up, Aiden coming down the pipeline, re-signing Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, you got guys you got to pay, or do you want to invest in a guard? Like, again, Jonah's a fine player, but he didn't have a great year. He actually had a bad year, to be honest. He wasn't healthy, and when he was healthy, he didn't look good in pass protection. I know Jeremy talked about that when he was on the show, too. So
I think Graham played better at guard than he did.
He did. He absolutely did. Like, I would re-sign Graham if you're going to pay
Graham in his spot. Yeah.
So that's just where I'm at. I'd rather draft a guard. If they go after Jackson Powers Johnson, I'm all on board. But if they don't, I'd rather, to Booner's point about a Cooper Beebe, whoever it is, go draft a guard, slot him right in there. I mean, guys, you have Taylor Decker, who's coming up, by the way, next year. He's coming up soon. So there's another guy you're going to have to pay. They have Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow, Penei, and Graham. If they re-sign him, it's a pretty good offensive line. Like you're just going to start at guard and be like, just don't crash the ship. Like you'll be. I know there's other guys like a Coyote who didn't look great, but I'm assuming their pick will be better than him. I'm assuming
that's a position in free agency that you can go get a guy for a 1 year, 2 year deal for $7, $8, $9, $10 million, and you're getting equal value to how Jonah played this year, and you're not committing to anything long term. And those players want to win now. There's no development with that. Like I saw someone popping up in the chat earlier. Like you go get a Dalton Reisner who was playing in Denver. Like that's a perfect guy.
Yep.
You guys, I don't think people realize this though. Big V's gone. So even if you do bring Graham back, or say whatever happens in that, like you still have to fill another guard spot outside of Jonah Jackson. Like you're potentially now losing Jonah and Big V. So and Graham is a free agent. So if you you have to bring Graham back, in my opinion, especially if you don't bring Jonah back, and you still, no matter what, you have to go out and probably, in my opinion, I'm kind of Lukas. I would rather go get a veteran guard, someone who will take $7-8 million, just so you at least have someone that could play that position right away, and maybe still draft a Cooper Beebe. And if he's not like ready instantly, or even if he is ready, all right, now you have a battle at guard between whoever the vet that you bring in, Graham Glasgow and Cooper Beebe, and now you have depth. Because remember last year, Graham came in and didn't even start right away. He was kind of that like, I'll fill in at center, I'll fill in here, and especially with Frank, kind of the injury. I would rather have maybe a rookie like a Cooper Beebe and a vet free agent, just in case, like, hey, if Frank needs to take a week off, throw Graham there and you have 2 guards still that you can play. So I think it's actually more that we like break this down and talk about it. That guard position might be more of a need than we actually realize it is, because you have 2 guard spots that will be open this year. Like that, and
I'd
this
be shocked if they didn't take one in the draft. Sorry to cut you off.
Early too. Like I would like Jackson Powers Johnson might be way more in play than we think. Now that we talk about this, like way more in play.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of some free agent guards here, I'm going to get to Tim Twentyman's list because he does have a guard on this list. To kind of Lucas's point,
has on there.
You're your favorite, your guy.
It's time to get to Tim Twentyman's top 10 free agents.
Give us a good intro. Give us it's time. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Oh no.
What?
Oh,
we love it. We can't cook it.
Yeah. No. Well,
do it. Give us something.
absolutely. No, yeah, you can go watch.
Nah,
Nah,
nah.
never mind. I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not
Nah,
gonna say
nah.
it. Okay,
The
we'll get to the top 10 list here. Tim 21's top 10 players that could interest the Detroit Lions. Not that will join the Detroit. He doesn't have that type of info, but he did write some interesting names here because Tim knows the team through and through.
Yeah.
I'd actually love to have Tim on one day. That'd be a great. We got to get Tim on. He's great at what he does. But here's his top 10 list. We'll start off number 1, Jonathan Greenard. And I want to read his intro here because I think it's worth reading because he kind of writes like kind of prefaces, and I'll read some of it here. He says, Holmes said after the season, or I'll read it from the beginning. The official start of the new league year and free agency is 1 week away, and that's when the retooling of Detroit's 2024 roster can officially begin for Lions general manager Brad Holmes and head coach Dan Campbell. Holmes said after the season, his goal in free agency is to re-sign their own players first. He said that in doing so, the Lions might not be big players in the unrestricted free agent market. I know. I've been saying that. But there could be room under the cap for both. Ooh. The NFL increased the salary cap for the 2024 season by a record-setting $30 million, which gives general managers like Holmes some added flexibility. And then he goes into kind of what Brad Holmes kind of talked about. And he says, with that being said, here's my list of top 10 potential free agents that could interest the Lions. And number 1, edge Jonathan Greenard from Houston. He's 26, said would be a perfect fit opposite Aiden Hutchinson along Detroit's defensive front. He tallied 12.5 sacks for the Texans last season and was 6th among all edge rushers with a 19% pass rush win rate. He also is good against the run. That's key, which is a must playing in Detroit. He and Will Anderson Jr. were a terrific edge duo for the Texans last season. What do you guys think? Number 1 on this list. I like him or Bryce Huff. I think those two would be probably like the under the radar guy.
I heard Jonathan Greenard's name pop up for the Detroit Lions until this. I could be wrong. I like it. I'm all in on that. That's like a perfect bookend to Aiden Hutchinson. Perfect.
Yeah, and I don't think you would have to pay as much for him as some other edge rushers, and he's still very young, so I wouldn't mind it at all. Obviously, he's like kind of a step down from Danielle Hunter, both like pay-wise, but I still think he would be very productive alongside Hutch, so I wouldn't mind it at all.
No, I love it because you look at what he did. Has tons of intangibles too. He's a long, versatile defensive end, and you look at what he did not only to help Will Anderson, but Houston. You look at their linebacking core, especially with Christian Harris, who is, I believe, a rookie or a second-year player. Their linebacking core was thriving, especially late in the season, and that's huge for the Detroit Lions with Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell. So not only I'm with you guys. I don't think he'd cost a lot of money. The one thing I am worried about is he kind of balled out on his contract year, so maybe he commands a little bit more money than what he's worth. But I think Brad can see through that, but he can help all angles of this defense.
The interesting part about this, guys, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, and this is kind of the argument that people would make for a guy like Danielle Hunter versus a Jonathan Greenard or a Bryce Huff, is Jonathan and Bryce are both 1 year. Well, I don't want to say 1 year wonders, but they've had one breakout year, which is fair to say. And I think Lions have in their mind some other players that have had 1 year breakouts and haven't been a successful signing with a new team. And that happens in the NFL. And then there's the argument for Danielle Hunter, his resume speaks for itself. He's been playing at this level for quite some time in a bad situation. So it's tough for me. I like the players. I'm curious. Probably we all agree here. I'm curious how much they'd cost. And of course, Steve Wildputs Texans got money, and will we sign him for big money? Yeah, they got a rookie. I mean, in CJ Stroud. I'm assuming they re-sign him, but this just goes for Bryce Huff too. Either of those options. It is a little. I'm a little, skeptical, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
That's why I like your Leonard Floyd when you brought that up, man. I mean, he's been in multiple situations, Chicago, LA, Buffalo, and he's been productive in all of them. And he's been the same player, and he's contributed and always been one of the top 5 players on whatever defense he's on. He doesn't command a lot of money, and he won't be long-term. I could see Greenard, like if he leaves Houston, he's not going to want – he's 26 years old. Like I said, he's not going to want to sign a 1-2 year deal. He's going to want to sign a 3, 4. I doubt he signs a $5 million 5-year deal, but he's going to want something long-term.
Think about what Brad said too when it came to free agency, because a lot of people remember he had this press conference, and a lot of people kind of questioned a little bit like, hey, what are you going to do? What's going to happen? What type of guys are you going to make moves in free agency? And the biggest thing to him is that he's like, we're not bringing guys in that are going to ruin this. And to your point, Jeff, if there's a guy that's a 1 year guy that like he's only showed this for a year, depending on how his person, like who he is and what he's about, and all of those things, I'm sure Brad's going to do that homework. I kind of do trust if there's a guy like him who's a 1 year kind of not wonder, but like he balled out on a contract year. I trust Brad a little bit to kind of do his homework and kind of dig a little deeper into it to make sure that it wasn't the case, and that he would be a good fit, because I think like Brad's not going to bring a guy in that he feels like is going to ruin this locker room or come in and not produce like that. I could be wrong, because he hasn't gone out and really got these free agents like this yet, but I do have faith. Like, this is a guy who had 12.5 sacks this year. Like, I don't hate the idea of doing it, because you don't need 12.5 from him next year. You just need 8 to 10, in my opinion, because you do have James Houston, you do have Hutch. Like, you just need to get him to come in here and just give you something. And he showed that he can give you something last year.
If you had to choose between him or Huff, who would you guys pick?
I think
you go, Lucas. You're good.
I think I would go Huff, for the simple reason that he hasn't had a breakout season, quote unquote, but he's always been productive, and he's been in a loaded defensive line room where there's guys that he's had to compete to get snaps with. They drafted Jermaine Johnson. They drafted all these the defensive linemen over the last 3-4 years, and he's had to compete with that. And he's not to some of their level, but he's still a very solid guy, and he would command less money, I think. Especially like Greenyard, he did pop off this year, and like the chat brought up, Houston's going to be wanting to throw him a bag. I don't think the Jets are really in a position where they need Bryce Huff. They need to shift their focus offensively, and they're going to spend the money there. So Bryce Huff, I think I would prefer just a little bit more. And he's a little
money
bit more
wise. Give me who's cheaper.
I think the Texans do re-sign him. I don't think 1 year after showing the success he had with Will Anderson, that they're just going to leave him out to dry and have no one opposite of him. So I do think he gets re-signed because they have the money and because they want to benefit the rookie edge that's a star. So while he's still on that, low contract.
Here's the thing with Bryce Huff is, because Lucas is right, in limited snaps, he showed a lot of had 10 sacks, was sharing a rotation. I also do think that rotation was because he's not good against the run, which is like actual, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think Greenyard's better, but Bryce Huff, I think, has more. There might be more there, so it's an argument. I think to kind of we'll all kind of agree here. I think Houston re-signs Jonathan, so that would put you with Bryce Huff. And I'm curious what a guy like Bryce Huff would cost, because Tim put it really well. And I've been talking about this with defensive linemen in the draft. If you can't, if you're not a run defender, they don't, they already have one 100%. Of those guys in James Houston, that is just a pass rush specialist. They need some guys that can come in and play 3 downs. So I don't know. It's a tough question. I'm curious. I don't think the Jets they're not going to be able to re-sign Bryce Huff. So he's a free agent. I think the Texans will re-sign Jonathan Greenyard. So you're probably going to have more of a chance with Huff, but we'll see. He's not a guy that you can play consistently. I just don't think you can play him consistently. Unless he shows more. He's 25. I mean, he might show a lot more, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Let's get to the next. That was a good conversation with one. See, look at that, guys. We're
one conversation too.
Yeah, we still got more to go here. All right, we'll get to the next player, which Lucas is the guy.
Yeah.
Let Lucas cook on this one.
Guys, when we sent this in the chat earlier, it's like I would buy Kendall Fuller's jersey just to burn it for when he leaves. I honestly would, because I get it that it's an upgrade. I'm not going to deny that. If Kendall Fuller signs with the Detroit Lions, I'm not going to be throwing a fit, because it's an upgrade over Kendall Vildor and Jerry Jacobs. But if you're spending like north of $10 million for Kendall Fuller, man, he's pretty much the exact same thing that you got in Cam Sutton. He's not a big cornerback. If you put him on the outside, like, I would much rather have Darius Williams at 5'9", because he's not fast. He doesn't have the best ball skills. He's not the best tackler. Like, he's good at some things, but great at nothing. So yes, it's an upgrade, but putting him at number 2, in my opinion, there's so many more that I could just think off the top of my head that I would rather have than Kendall Fuller. I don't understand the hype around it. Like, he's the name, but then when you actually start watching the tape and what he's done in his career, you're like, what's the hype around this guy? Like, name me one Kendall Fuller highlight one Kendall Fuller play you could ever remember. You can't, because he doesn't make that many. He was on the worst secondary in football this year, worse than the Lions, and he performed very similar how Cam Sutton did in Pittsburgh. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, this is why when you bring up
went off.
PFF, this is
I
why
saw the word crafty next to Kendall. My goodness.
Well, hold on.
Crafty.
This, you know what's funny? This is why you can pick and choose to kind of use PFF for against other arguments. And I'm not going to do this, Lucas. I'm not on your side fully, but I think we've all had this conversation. I'm not in love with it. I'd be okay with it. I think he can come in and be better than what you had. I mean, he's a temporary guy, to be honest, but he was technically the 7th highest graded corner.
Oh,
By
PFF.
Oh, there it is.
Higher,
there it is.
Hey, higher than Derek Stingley Jr.,
Makes sense.
Brian Branch, DJ Reed.
Makes sense.
Jair
Right?
Alexander, AJ Terrell. I'm just giving you the names. All right.
I have a feeling that
So that's where PFF gets kind of funny. So
Bring them all! Like, no, come on, man.
I do have a
PFF
feeling that it's going to pop up on my phone in the next, like the first couple days of free agency. Kendall Fuller is signing a 2-year deal or something to the Detroit Lions. Like, and I cannot wait to tweet that out and tag Lucas in it. Like, I cannot wait. I'm ready.
Lucas,
I might make the tweet right now, and then I think I'm just going to put it in my draft, so it's like ready to go.
Fair.
I mean,
I just know what's gonna happen. I just know.
It for sure.
And it's like going against it's like Brad saying like, no, Lucas, like this guy's good. Like I don't just sign people. Like I'm taking Kendall Fuller, and I'll still be mad about it. Just what it's like a hill for me that I don't think I'm willing to come down from. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's tough. Oh, by the way,
Shout out Edwin.
Yeah, appreciate
Shout
you,
out, Edwin.
Booner and the boys. I'm so freaking happy I found you. Let's go, Edwin. We appreciate you for joining.
If you guys are new, hit subscribe, like the stream, all of those things, man. We're here every night.
So here's ETN. There's no way Kendall Fuller was better than Derek Stingley. What the fuck? Well, yeah, I mean you
Jair Alexander. They're putting Kendall Fuller over.
That is excessive from PFF.
Yeah, he was high. Hey, I ranked.
To be fair, to their own grades and stuff, like Aiden Hutchinson was one of the highest graded edge rushers, and he's not even in their top 100 list. So like, there we go. It's all fraud system.
So far,
dude.
watch.
Like he's not
Number 15, Aiden Hutchinson.
Imagine if he is.
PFF
Shout out. That'd be awesome.
I would
right
not
behind
be
Micah Parsons.
Yeah, Papa D's nailed it. It fits the narrative. You know what I mean? Like, if it fits my narrative, I like PFF. If it doesn't, I don't like it. That's how
I love his picture, by the way, too. It's a beautiful thing.
Now I want to see it. What is it? Oh,
JJ McCarthy and Jared Goff, baby.
Oh, okay.
Just two quarterbacks that got me a national championship and an NFC championship appearance.
Well, here's the thing with comparing Derek Stingley and Kendall Fuller. Kendall Fuller was ranked higher, but Derek Stingley allowed, when targeted, a 71.6 passer rating. Kendall Fuller allowed 101.9. So, like,
stop there. Just stop. Because also account this man for his whole time in Washington had Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, Jared Allen. Like he's had dudes in the front seven for his whole time there, and yet he's still getting torched. And Cameron Curley isn't that bad of a safety in the back end. And then I think it's Benjamin St. Juste. Like he was a rookie, but he wasn't god awful. And you're letting up 100+ passer rating. No. Anything north of 10 million for Kendall Fuller, you're throwing your money at the street at that point. Just take it, throw it away, let the wind blow away with it.
I'm sorry to go back to the last segment real quick. It just popped in my head though. The 30 million extra cap space, boys. Jonah Jackson, 3 extra million. Like some of these guys, Kendall. Like, do you know what I mean? It just popped in my head because Brad did say we already had our contracts that we wanted kind of set in our head. That 30 extra million just gives us a little bit more space to work with. So like he already knew what he's doing.
Then go spend it on somebody that's worth it.
Yeah. I just think
I'm not talking about Kendall
is
Fuller, by the
probably
way. I'm not
four-
talking Kendall Fuller. I was talking to Jonah Jackson today. My bad, boys.
Kendall Fuller, there's
Fair,
like
fair,
5 other guys that you could possibly get for like around the same price range. Maybe pay him a couple million more that are probably going to be more consistent in the long run. So that's just my angle on it.
Sorry, Gentry, real quick. I keep looking to my left here. You guys know I'm a gambling man over here, and I've got just Booner over here. I've got Stetson money line, and they're down 2 with 48 seconds left. I've got Stetson versus Jacksonville.
You're such a
That doesn't even sound like a college game, dude.
Call the
Oh,
number. Call the number.
Airball the 3. What are we doing? I
wanna
What's
answer
that
this.
on ESPN Brazil or something, dude.
It's
What are
like
you watching
ESPN
that
Plus
on?
or something. It's the conference championship tournaments. They're all this week and next week, brother. Big basketball.
it
It's
is
March,
March.
baby. March Madness.
Almost is, yeah.
This is
So-
big. This is big. A lot of basketball.
Jay Mommy says, are you guys showing the top 25? St. Brown, Hutchinson, and Gibbs should all be there. Well, actually, we'll show it tomorrow because it comes out
Yep.
tomorrow. So I
It
just
comes
want to
out
address
tomorrow.
that. All right, we'll get to the next free agent. We got through Kendall Fuller. Now we're on 3. Edge, Dorrance Armstrong from Dallas. It says Armstrong was a rotational player along the Cowboys defensive line, playing 42% of their snaps on defense this past year, but his production warrants a chance as a starter somewhere else. Armstrong had 7.5 sacks in 2023 and 8.5 in 2022, playing just 40% or 47% of the snaps on defense. At 6'4", 255, he'd be a nice fit opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Now, and this is where, I'm curious. I mean, Dorrance, he's a rotational player, almost 10 sacks. The Cowboys, as a defensive line, they weren't great against the run. I don't like to blame specific players. It was just the unit as a whole. It kind of maybe goes back to other points when you talk about players being bad against the run. Some you can apply that to. Some it's hard to argue. I think Dorrance, I mean, you compare the Greenyards or the Bryce Huffs, I think Dorrance would be cheaper. So maybe if you can get him, cool, but I'm not over here pounding the table for Dorrance Armstrong. That's where I'm at, fellas.
I'm reading an article here. It came out in January. It said his projected is 3 years for $8.5 million. So like, I don't think that I don't think that's like a ton of like a guy who's had 15 sacks the last 2 years. My point all like with the defensive line is, let's revamp this defensive line. That's like a cheaper guy to where he's produced for 2 straight years. To your point, Jeff, like you don't want a guy that's a one year wonder, like that's just had 1 year and now he needs to get paid. This is a guy that's put to back years, 7.5, 8.5, and you can get him at a couple. You can get him at a couple, maybe 4 million. I don't know how accurate that is, but maybe even if it's 4 or 5 million, and that's just another piece to replace one of these, like move on from the one of the Aquara brothers, and you throw him in at like as an edge,
perfect,
like I'm just thinking here, and I've said this to you guys for like a month now, or literally I said this like mid-season, is I just want to see this defensive line just get completely revamped. Like keep a couple pieces, James Houston, Lee McNeil, Broderick because he's young, Aiden Hutchinson, like keep some of these guys, maybe the commission on a cheaper deal, and then just go out and just get 3 or 4 dudes that have produced a little and they're looking to come and win, and they're looking on a cheaper deal and they've produced. That's where I'm at with this. And I don't think this is like it would be a bad signing at all if it's cheap.
No, I mean it's not at all, but you're getting this is where your Romeo Aquara placement is, because he's a big guy, he's 6'4", but he's very immobile. He's not very athletic. He can make a difference in the run game, but if we don't sign him, like I'm happy.
Yeah.
If we sign him, I'm happy. Like it's a replacement piece. So I'm not. When I see this name, I'm like, okay, like he's been like solid for Dallas, but again, like Dallas, you look at their defensive line: Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Sean Williams. I mean, they got a lot of guys on there that can contribute right now. So I think that comes into play when you talk about, he's on the field 40% of the time. When he does, he produces, but okay, why? Because he's the last person that the offensive line is worried about. So if you come to Detroit, rotational piece, like 8.5 for 3 years, that's incredible value, but I think just draft the guy at that point. You save more money doing that.
You probably don't have to do 3
Rotational
years.
piece,
That
but
was
you
just
still need to get someone outside of Hutch. I mean, this guy wouldn't move the needle that much. So, like, allocating money to it is kind of like, why wouldn't you just go out and get an actual dude and then not a rotational piece, and then you can draft a rotational piece? Would make more sense and get this, because I don't think he'd be starting every down. I still think you need another dude, so it just wouldn't make sense.
Well, here's a guy that would make a difference.
Real quick, Jeff, this is where I just want to throw this out to the people real quick, because we're going to go over a lot of guys this offseason and draft guys and this. Like, you're going to have to sign guys like Dorrance Armstrong. Like, the thing is, people, and I saw people in the chat said no, and I know the kind of what you guys were saying, but you're going to have to bring in 3 or 4 new guys in this defensive line. So you're going to, like, I think we're going to have to say yes to some of these guys, because you're going to, like, next week when free agency opens, Detroit Lions are going to bring in a couple guys from defensive line. Like, that's going to happen, and they're going to draft guys as well. So, this is going to be there's going to be a lot of dudes that open up here or come in.
Here's a guy that would make a difference. Danico Autry.
Here we go, Boo. Now we're cooking with
defensive tackle from Tennessee. Now we're getting into
11.5 sacks last year. A dog.
It says Autry will be 34 in July, but there has been no slowing down for him heading into year 11. He recorded 11.5 sacks playing under new Lions run game coordinator and defensive line coach. Reunion Terrell Williams last season in Tennessee. Autry had 28.5 sacks over the last 3 seasons. Yeah, well, he answered a couple questions here, okay? There's a resume, there's a connection, and you bring in a vet. He would be cheaper because it'd be not cheaper, but it would be easier to kind of swallow that contract, because it'd be probably 1 year. I said contract. You can't even do that.
1 year.
We didn't say anything.
1 year, $8 million. Give him a year and 8 or something.
Yeah, because he's 34. You give him a 1 year deal
or 1.7.
Yeah. So I kind of like that. I'm interested in Autry. Maybe 1 year, get him in. Hey, chase a Super Bowl. You get to reunite with Terrell Williams. He loves him.
That
makes a lot of sense.
It does, because to Brad's comments in the press conference, we want guys that we know what they're about and we know who they are. Former defensive line coach now in Detroit, just literally last year, he knows what he's about. So if he wants to do a 1 year deal and say, hey, I will go win a Super Bowl, I see Harold put in there, he's going to want 10. If he wants to come in and win a Super Bowl, maybe he'll want 10, but guess what? If you want to win a Super Bowl and you want to be on some of the good teams and get out of Tennessee, wherever you were, you might have to take $1 million off or $2 million off to be able to do that. And if you take a 1 year deal, $8 million, $7 million with some incentives, if we go and win, we'll get you this much. If you get to 7 sacks again, you'll get this much, whatever it is. I think that's a vet who would be like, yep, I'm in. Let's do it. Him with Aleem, sign me up, baby. And Tavondre, sign me up, baby.
I don't know, but if they they might, just because he is older. He is up there in age. But I would love Danico Autry. Like, I would love it. I just think Lions fans shouldn't expect the same production that he's been having in Tennessee, because he doesn't have Jeffrey Simmons right next to him. I think that's a big deal. But I think if there was a team that, not saying he's going to take a huge discount, but maybe say, instead of 11 million, I'll take 10 million. It is in Detroit because of all the connections that are there, and he fits the culture. He's a violent, nasty player that, like I always talk about with what was his name? I'm having him Edrin Cooper. If he plays with like that type of play style, so I would love him in Detroit. He's very savvy, but he's also very explosive for how old he is. He would be a difference maker, and I think for the price, even if it is $10-11 million, he would make more of a difference than Kendall Fuller ever would for this defense. So I'll take him.
Yeah, as long as it's short term for him, it's a kind of player what he's going to bring. I have no problem with it. And obviously, he's going to fit well in the locker room with Terrell Williams. He played for him at Tennessee, so I don't mind that at all. 1 year, 10 million guy, what's going to bring every game. Obviously, what Lukas said, his production may be a little bit down, but he's still going to give it his all, and he's a good locker room guy. Would take it.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I agree with that. The production will be. I think he's coming. You walk in with Aiden, you have Aleem, and then if they draft an edge, like he's walking into a pretty good.
He would, but I think you're talking about defensive tackle as far as the sacks and productions. Jeffrey Simmons is an all-pro level defensive tackle that is lining up directly next to him, and I think Aleem McNeil's good, but there's a difference between Aleem McNeil and Jeffrey Simmons. And even on the outside, they had Harold Landry over there cooking, who's not the presence that Aiden Hutchinson is, but as far as getting to the quarterback, he even has a lot of production there. So I think I'm not saying he can't have an impact like he did in Tennessee. I'm saying strictly like the sack numbers. I don't think those would translate in Detroit because Aleem, he's the pass rush guy. I think Danico would almost command the double team before Aleem.
It's going to make Aleem better.
Yeah.
It's going to make everybody better. It's going to make your secondary better. And also, guys, they need a veteran presence on this defensive line. And no, I'm not talking about
They do.
Hold on. I'm not talking about a Tutu Alualu, whatever.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
Tyson Alu.
I don't care what it is.
Or what's his name?
No, I don't even care.
Benito, guys.
No.
By the way, Stetson won. If anyone was wondering, they just hit a shot and then they won.
Well,
they were down 10.
All right, real quick.
March Madness, baby.
They need to add a veteran presence on this defensive line. You got Aiden, he's going into his third year. You got Aleem. He's still a young player. These guys and they played on a big stage, but you need somebody that's he's 34. The last 3 seasons have been productive. I don't see him falling off significantly unless he gets injured, of course, but that's why you have depth. I just think you need a nasty, just a dog next to on this defensive line. A guy who's just been in some big moments, played in a lot of games. Like I love this. Honestly,
I'm all in.
I think I'm all in. Like I think this is probably one of my favorite defensive linemen available, to be honest. Because it just makes so much sense. It's like you put the pieces together. I'm sure Terrell Williams is like, hey, Dan, hey, Brad, like shoot him a text. Like I know a guy over in Tennessee, dog. Like
I think
a 1-year deal. I promise
a lot of these free agent signings, fellas, is going to be like these connections. Like look at CJ Garner-Johnson last year. Like there was that connection with AG. I think a Denico Autry, like as long as they want to know who they're bringing in. And I think a guy like that, 11.5 sacks, you need a defensive tackle. Like you need that. I'm with it. I'm all in on that, Jeff. I'm all in on that.
Lukas, I see where you're just.
Yeah. Steve, I love you. You're a valuable member of the chat. And I honestly do love hearing what you have to say. You're a lot of times you are correct, but this is a whiff. I want you to collect yourself.
Why?
Jeffrey Simmons, if this man didn't have trouble as far as off the field coming out of the draft, would have been a top 15 pick. And he has played like he's a top 10 pick since he's entered the NFL. This man is a game wrecker. There are probably Chris Jones, Aaron Donald. I'm thinking Quinnen Williams. Yep. And then I wouldn't take Adam Bouquet over Jeffrey Simmons. I wouldn't.
Wow.
Jeffrey Simmons in the run game is a monster. In the pass game is a monster. He's violent. He'll shred double teams. And it's not that I dislike Adam Bouquet, but what did Adam Bouquet do before the last 2 seasons? Jeffrey Simmons, since he stepped foot in the league, has been a problem. And when you talk about the Tennessee Titans, they were not worried about stopping Denico Autry. They were worried about Jeffrey Simmons game-wrecking the game. So I just disagree with that. It's not saying Aleem's bad. Like, Aleem's good. Jeffrey Simmons is great.
Can we kumbaya a little bit? All right. There's like a tier 1, and there's like all the tackles, defensive tackles we named, and then Aleem's kind of tier 2 rising. Is he still he's kind of floating in that tier 2? Is that fair?
Yeah, he's floating in that tier 2.
Okay.
All right. I just think Jeffrey Simmons is in that tier 1.
Yeah. Okay. I'll agree.
Yeah.
Because Aleem had a breakout year this year, had 5 sacks. Like, he's still a young player, and Jeffrey, to your point, has been doing it. He's had close to 10 the last 3 seasons. I mean, 5.5 last season, but I believe he was doing some injuries.
He had injury trouble. There's the whole locker room, and this Tennessee was just off this year.
But before that, he had like 7.5, 8.5. So I get it. He's been doing it a little longer, but I think Autry, and you would agree, Lukas, if he comes here, this defensive line, he would still Terrell Williams. I think he'd still make an impact.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about this though. Lee McNeil, this could be a big year for him as well. A huge year. Like he got injured towards the end last year, missed like 4 or 5 games. Went on like I don't know. I just feel like we see these defensive tackles, Denico Autry 11.5. We're talking about Jeffrey Simmons. Like maybe this is a year Aleem goes out there and gets 10 plus. Maybe
that's
Aleem
needs to get into that other tier.
Maybe he does that. He's still, like you said, Jeff. Aleem's young. What is this, year 3 for him? Year 4? Like he's still a young guy in this league right now. So this might be a year where we see an Aleem McNeil to where you can bring Denico in, and that even helps out. Like maybe not having that other side as well, like to Aiden Hutchinson, the bookend. That might have been affecting Aleem McNeil as well. And when you start actually getting some dudes in here who are going to win one-on-ones and create more pressure and help them out a little bit more, that opens up more for Aleem, Aiden Hutchinson, all of these guys. James Houston's healthy. He comes back. Like this defensive line, if Brad plays his cards right, he can build a nice defensive line because he does have some pieces. He has 3, in my opinion, Hutch, Aleem, and Houston. Like he has 3 guys that have some potential there, man. He just needs to put the right pieces around him.
And I'll say this. I think Aleem, he's also in a contract year, by the way. So that's another guy you're
Ooh,
gonna have
that
to pay.
makes
It's his fourth year. It's
Well,
fourth
that
year.
means he's going to want to show out. He really might
Yeah.
go out there and put 10 up.
Well, here's the next. Let's move on here because we can get into this. We can get into this Jeffrey Simmons thing, and we can really stay on it. But we got a couple more. Robert Hunt, guard for Miami. There's a guard on here. I believe it's I don't know if I'm the first offensive player. Yeah, first offensive player. Andrew Van Ginkel, which we'll get to in a little bit here. Yeah, Gink. Robert Hunt. Will the Lions be able to resign? He writes here. Will the Lions be able to resign both Jonah Jackson and Glenn Glasgow? Will probably be the preferred method, but if not, they could look to sign another veteran at 6'6", 335 pounds. Hunt got his first start at tackle, lining up on either side in his rookie season. He found a home the past 3 seasons at right guard. The Lions would value his versatility up front. I don't mind this. I mean, we don't have to spend all the time on it. I just to think they sign a guard. I think we're all cool with this. I mean,
Does he feel like a guy like how they brought Graham in last year? Like that's kind of his role.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it feels.
Yeah. I think we're all cool with that. Move on. Outside linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel from Miami. Maybe this is just Tim writes, maybe this is just selfishly wanting to listen in on a best hair argument in the locker room between Van Ginkel and Alex Anzalone, but Van Ginkel, 6'4", 242, is a versatile player, or versatile, depending on how you want to say it, player any defense would like to have with his ability to play the edge and in space. He's also a core special teamer. He had 6 sacks this past season to go with 69 tackles, a pick 6, and 19 quarterback hits. I mean, Van Gink, hey, he's got a little bit of juice. You know what I mean?
He does.
You could play him in space, like Tim said. I mean,
what you make is you sound like you want to say something, but you're scared to right now. Yeah,
just say it, Jeff.
I wouldn't hate it, but like, what is the price tag for him?
That's what
like?
I was going to bring up.
Yeah,
dude,
can you pull it up on Spotrac?
I'll pull it up, but that's where I've been with him. It's like we've talked about him a couple times now, but I'm not going to sit here and break the bank for an Andrew Van Ginkel. Like, no offense, but I don't know.
You're not breaking the bank for Gink? You crazy? Are you crazy?
Little Van Gink.
You watch the tape, Booner?
Yeah, Boone.
Oh man, I don't know, dude.
Little Van
what does it
Gink.
say on Spotrac though, Boone? Because I am
Spotrac, it doesn't have it here. Let me go look. I'm trying to pull up an article here that says his 2024 contract projection. Projected contract 2 years, 15 million, 7.5 a year.
I'd take that.
Yeah,
I would honestly, and I'm not even trying to be funny. I would take Van Ginkel over Greenyard. I think
Green who?
You can use him. Huh?
Who? Wait, who? You cut out there?
Greenyard?
Okay, all I heard was Green. I thought it was like Greenlaw or something.
No, Greenyard, because Van Ginkel, like you can put him on the edge, and he does have the ability to play like a off-ball or a off-ball linebacker. So there's more ways that you can use him.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they had James Houston in. Remember when they dropped him? They were dropping him in coverage. Like this would be Ving.
Yeah.
Well, you know who took? You know who ended up filling that role for a little while was Jack Campbell. Jack did that basically for the whole second half of the year. So if you move Jack, switch Jack and throw Vinkel in there or Ginkel, Van Ginkel, Vinkel.
I don't want to see Jack on the edge.
Yeah, and he's probably a Brad guy. Steve put it in there. He's a Lions type guy. He probably is like a Brad and Dan guy too. So.
I mean, he's not just a linebacker though. Like he's like a hybrid. Like he would play that Sam linebacker position just perfectly. He could rush the passer. He's better at doing that than Jack Campbell, and he's good in coverage. Which I think he fits perfectly to what this defense kind of needs and would want. So
my bad, Jeff. Keep going.
No, you're good.
I'll say he's a player that like come playoff time and you can laugh at it. Every playoff team wants an Andrew Van Ginkel come December, come January, because to your point, he's versatile. He can put his hand in the dirt, get to the quarterback. He can drop in the coverage. He can play off the ball. He can do many things. So I think every team wants a player like that. But to Booner's point, if it's anything like north of $7.5, $8 million, like, no, something cool because you can find players that will match that production. I think maybe not the versatility, but production, yes.
Yes. And to Steve Wilds' point, this is where I'm at. He's kind of what they wanted Houston to be, which would frustrate me because I'm like, he's not going to cover anybody. Like he's just a pure, pass rusher, but Van Ginkel could do both.
That was where I got a little mad last year with Houston was they were dropping him into coverage. They were doing things and they took him out of what he was doing in his rookie season. To me, felt like it messed his game up a little bit. In this year, like let James Houston go, just put him on the edge and let him go get the quarterback. Bring Ginkel in and let him do what you wanted James Houston to do. I'm with you guys on that. Steve, I'm with you.
It would be adding Gink or to this linebacker crew would be like, I mean, if you want to make like a movie comparison, the one that pops in my head would be like a Gerard Butler in 300, where it's like a bunch of
Oh my God.
That would be like the linebacker crew, just a bunch of white dudes with long hair, and then Jack who doesn't, but just a bunch of white dudes, like 1940s football. Like it's just great. Like,
remember the Titans before Denzel showed up.
Imagine
great movie,
imagine that if Jack came to training camp with like long hair, like he just grew his hair out all off season, and you just have Anzo, Van Ginkel, and Jack Campbell, just long hair. Derek Barnes would be like,
now. Well, I guess he's a defensive lineman, but
he might not even be.
You imagine Kamish.
Yeah, I mean, Kamish.
Dirty ass mullet going on.
Is that what he's doing?
Hey, let's not talk about don't slander any mullets over here now.
Well,
right, fine.
Another
Right,
another edge rusher on here, Mike Dana.
Okay.
Mike Dana.
That's how I thought it was.
Go blue, baby, Michigan man.
Edge from Kansas City. And Tim writes here, Dana's reps increased every year in Kansas City, maxing out at 74% of the defensive snaps this season. He was a key player of the Chiefs front with 50 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 13 quarterbacks hits, and 6.5 sacks this past season. Like this is kind of like this is kind of to me like
he is athletic though. I will say that he's athletic.
This is kind of how I feel about Armstrong. Like like if you get him,
but Jeff, again, this is where I'm gonna go with it. It's like I take him out of the Armstrong because Armstrong. No, he's with the Armstrong. Actually, he's going to be a cheaper guy who's produced, and you don't need a guy that's gone out there and got 12-15 million. But you're going to have to bring some of these guys in that don't cost a ton of money and they've produced because you're going to need to replace the Aquara brother. You're going to need to replace some of these guys. If you guys don't want Kamish back, who are you replacing him with? Mike Dana. Like these are the guys you do it with. So like you can't say no to every single one of these edge rushers, Jeffrey. We need to have a defensive line. We need new guys on this defensive line. We can't say no to everyone and then just roll up with Levi Onwuzurike or Josh Pascal.
Yeah, that's facts, Booner. That is facts.
We cannot. Some of these guys we're gonna have to bring some of these kind of guys. You see what I'm saying?
No need to fear. Van Gink is here. All right, he's going on.
Jeff's about to start defending Josh Pascal too.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring some guys in. We're gonna have to say yes to a couple of these guys.
Gentry, before I go, do you have any opinions on Mike Dana?
Like I said, kind of like Jeff said, I don't know if it moves the needle, but to Booner's point, we will have to sign one of these guys, and maybe him being a Michigan man, he wants to come back home. I don't know. But I know one of the edge rushers that's coming up, we got to bring this man home.
Hey, am I the only one that's kind of a Mike Dana fan here? Am I the only one?
I'm a Mike Dana fan. I know. Like, I'm all into. He's got 2 Super Bowls.
The Chiefs, he was
he was on a
Jones or George Galactus, but he was a very he definitely was a key piece of that defensive front. So I mean, you bring him on a rotation. Jeff, I know you might not like him now.
Wanted to say no,
but Mike Dana, I'm all for Mike Dana because he's not, to Booner's point, he's going to be on like a dime or a nickel maybe, but.
Dude, and he's coming home. He'll take. That's literally a hometown discount. As he grew up, like he's a Michigan man, and he's literally he's been on 2 Super Bowl winning defenses, and he's not a scrub on those defenses. Look at that. It says, what does it say there, Jeff? 74% of the defensive snaps. Hold on, 74% of the defensive snaps on a Super Bowl winning defense, one of the best in the league that carried this team to a Super Bowl. 13 quarterback hits, 6.5 sacks on a Super Bowl winning defense. Sorry, 74% of
young,
the
though,
defensive
too.
snaps, fellas.
He's still pretty young too. I'm pretty sure he's like 27 or something. So
I'm all in on him. Bring him home.
Yeah, I mean, you said 74% of the snaps. I mean, I'm 74%. I'm cool on him. Like that's so not that we don't need him. I listen, nothing against him as a player. Like even real quick, and I'll get to the super chat in a second here. Appreciate you, Dante 151.
Shout out, man.
But shout out to Spencer. He said play with Mike. He's a freak of a human because he's got ties in this area. Like I get that.
Shout out Spencer, man.
I'm sure he's a freak. I'm sure he's an absolute freak. I'm not good for him, right? Like I'm just saying. How much is he going to cost? What kind of impact is he going to have here? Okay.
I'll get you a projection.
Yeah, Booner, what's the price tag?
Give me a price tag.
You guys want
that's
the
where
inside,
I'm gonna
right?
I'm gonna guess two. I'm gonna guess he's gonna be around $5 million a year, maybe 6. Like a 3-year, 12.
You guys have to give me a second here.
I just don't. I kind of am like I'm cool with the signing, but I'm not going to be like, bring me Mike Dana. Like I'm not.
Like you are for Van Ginkel now.
Yeah.
I want
if,
Ginkel, I want Ginkel, and I want Autry. So those are. Hey, I said who I want.
I do too. I'm not mad at it. I don't think Dana's like a Van Ginkel player. I don't think he's close to that. But I mean, he's better than you said. He's Dorrance Armstrong. I'm like Dana ain't no Dorrance Armstrong.
This is A to Z Sports. So I don't know how accurate A to Z Sports is with this, but it says 2 years, 19 million, 9.5 per year. Cap hit year one.
Cool on that.
It says well, no, hear this out. It says 12.5 million guaranteed. Year one cap hit 4.9 million. So maybe some bonuses in there or something.
They're getting too deep into that. They're just
coming.
Let's just stick to what the number was. If you're paying him 9.5, like I think that because at some point, if you're paying him cheap up front, and you're paying him more down the road, and I'm not paying Mike Dana that much money at any point. I'm sorry, I'm just not.
Yeah, that's a bad. I think you know what I think it is actually, and I don't think we're realizing this, and I'm going to confirm this. Is I'm pretty sure.
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure he's just getting off his rookie deal. I think this is his first year off. Like he was on his rookie contract still.
Hey, well, here's another guy, a little crafty veteran. Tim Twentyman said at number 8, cornerback Stephon Gilmore, from Dallas,
Bring him home.
Originally from the New England Patriots. It says Gilmore is a crafty veteran who might be willing to take a 1-year deal in Detroit to make a run at the Super Bowl and play alongside younger brother Steven. Teams completed just 56.8% of their passes thrown Gilmore's way last season in Dallas. Like, that's why I'm trying to – it's not that I don't like a Mike Dana or I don't like certain players. I'm trying to, like, out of these group, who would I like the most? I like Autry. I like Van Gink. I like Stephon Gilmore. I actually do. I like this signing a lot. I think it makes sense. And connection, Steven – he comes, he plays alongside a team that is in the same conference, of course, as the Dallas Cowboys. He might want to return, but you get to play with your brother, and it's a need. They need another corner. I don't know. I wouldn't mind a Stephon Gilmore 1-year deal.
Give me Stephon Gilmore and give me Max Melton and give me Cam Sutton, and we'll roll with that squad going forward. Maybe one more guy, but I'm with this. I know this is a Lukas guy, Stephon Gilmore. I think our first show we ever did, this was a name that was brought up like a month ago, 5 weeks ago, whenever it was. So I'm in on Stephon Gilmore. I'm good with that. I know a lot of people, it seems like, don't like him though.
Yeah, I don't. Real quick, before you go, Lucas, they based that off of the Dallas versus Packers game. Guys, if you take one game and don't look at the entire season, like Tim writes, he allowed 56.8% of the passes thrown Gilmore's way last season. That was the completion percentage. Like that whole Dallas defense took a shit. So I can't just be like, well, it's Stephon's fault. He sucks. Like I'm not going that way.
In that case, you don't ever want Deron Bland on your football team. You don't want Micah Parsons. You want DeMarcus Lawrence. Like the Cowboys just took a shit, and Stephon Gilmore is part of that team, so he's going to inherit some of that. He didn't play his best game, but he was without a doubt. I'm not going to say he was better than Deron Bland on the season, but he was without a doubt their best man coverage guy, and that's exactly why. You look at even the tackles that he makes. He's a great tackler. He's 32, 33 years old. I understand he's up there as an age, but there are players, especially Hall of Fame caliber players, which Stephon Gilmore is, that are just so talented at their primes that they're so fundamentally sound when they're older and they're not as athletic, but they know how to play the game and manipulate space and just stay in position. And Stephon Gilmore showed you can do that last year. towards the end of the season, he put A.J. Brown in a box, and that was when A.J. Brown was going on the 100-yard game streak. He ended the game with the 4th fumble on A.J. Brown. And was there a player on the lines that could do that last year? If A.J. Brown rolled into Ford Field, he would be guaranteed for 125, 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that's just guaranteed off the floor. You already knew that was going to happen. Stephon Gilmore is a guy that has been a defensive player of the year, Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowler, All-Pro. You name it, Stephon Gilmore has done in his career, and that is exactly what the Detroit Lions need to contribute right now and to develop future talent in this cornerback room.
Well said.
Thank
What about you,
I
Gentry?
appreciate that, Jeffrey.
Oh no,
Great
we've
break-
all
great
been all pro Stephon Gilmore since he came here. I think it's low risk, high reward. Obviously, if you're going to do a 1 year, and he can be a mentor to his brother, and we need that veteran that can in the locker room as far as cornerback goes. And you can argue with Dallas, like Lukas said, that he was the best cornerback. He probably faced more better wide receivers, and De'Aaron Bland or whatever was getting cooked a lot of even though he had a lot of interceptions and the pick sixes and whatnot, he was getting cooked for a fair share of the season. So I'm all for bringing Gilmore along.
Now, do you want his market value?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
let's hear it, Boone. I would be willing to pay him up
11.1 million.
Perfect, yeah.
Around the same as Cam Sutton.
Yeah, and
1
except
year.
he would be
1
on like
year.
the max of a 2-year deal. I almost feel like this is probably Stephon Gilmore's last year because he signed a 1-year deal in Dallas last year. So I couldn't imagine he's going to sign more than 1 year somewhere else after last year.
Yeah, play 1 year in Detroit, play with your little brother, and then retire in a year or two. Like, just why not? You get to say you play with your little bro. Like, why not? You get to play on the same team. And there you go, too. Gilmore, intelligent player, former defensive player of the year winner. Like, you want guys like that who's won Super Bowls. By the way, guys, keep that in mind. He's played in huge games. Like, you want that on and off the field presence. You just do. Move on to the 9th. We got
Dana,
Danielle Hunter.
Super Bowls.
Bring him home.
What'd you say?
I said Mike Dana won 2 Super Bowls. You want those guys in that room, brother.
Does he have a defensive player of the year?
No,
Maybe. He's only 27, 26 years
You
old.
never know. He's still on his rookie. He's just getting off his rookie deal.
I think I'm getting old. I might have forgot if he did or not. But Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter. Yeah, guys. I mean, this is a no-brainer. I mean, I don't even have to. We don't have to break this down. Like, bring the motherfucker home. Like,
Dude,
like
just get the deal done.
Yeah, I mean, if it's possible, if he's gonna sign somebody, it's him. But I'm still gonna. I don't think he does because we just talked about like a couple guys that fit really well. I don't know if you can sign like an Autry or a Gilmore and still give out all this money to Danielle. You might have to pick one. Like if you go Danielle, you might not be able to bring in, a Stephon or maybe you do. I don't know. Brad's gonna have to cook there. But if you're gonna make a big signing, you want this guy right here.
Yeah, I'm interested on the money because like these conversations we keep having, it's like there are a lot of spots to fill. Like Chase Lucas gone now. Like you have to go get multiple corners now. You're going to have to get a couple of guys in the defensive line. Like there's positions that you're the guard. Like we just mentioned the guard, and I know you have draft picks and stuff, but you need like emphasis on that. You need guys who are going to play at these positions next year. Like that is a must. So if Danielle, if you can get him in a deal to where you feel like you're still comfortable to go out and get players at the offensive line to fill those needs, the corner to fill those needs, and get another defensive tackle, and then you have Danielle. Like I'm all in on that, dude. Like I think if there's someone who's not, and Brad can figure out the money side of things with that, bring that man home. There's no reason you shouldn't be making phone calls to him and his agent.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Guys, we don't really have to spend too much time on it. I think we all agree. I mean, if you sign the guy, cool. We'll be the first to come out here and throw a fucking party live on this show. But number 10, the last person Tim Twentyman has is cornerback Chidobe Awuzie from Cincinnati. Awuzie.
Yep.
Awuzie was one of the best cornerbacks in football the first half of the 2022 season before tearing his ACL. Teams completed only 38% of his passes or their passes against him with a 53.4 rating the first 8 games of that season before suffering the knee injury. He's a physical corner who is good against the run with 74 career starts under his belt. Yeah, this one, I mean, what do you think, Lukas? I mean, you know more about Chidobe than any of us.
He's like I said, the Lions need a perimeter corner. Chidobe Awuzie is a slot corner. You have everything you could possibly want with him and Brian Branch. So I think this would be throwing because he's going to command a little bit of a money because he's not like fresh into the league, but he's still a younger cornerback that has played at a high level, especially when he was in Dallas. He looked really good. He did play good in Cincinnati. So you know what you're getting with him outside of injuries. So he's going to command a little bit of money. And if you're commanding that type of money for a player like that, that's going to be a depth piece. I just don't think it's worth it when you can go get a Stephon Gilmore, who we just talked about.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much he would cost. Do you have a Spotrac, Booner, for a guy like?
I could look it up.
He's
I didn't even look this up.
Another injured defensive back.
That's another thing too. Like, does Brad love him even more now? I don't know.
That is, yeah.
ACL,
he might.
Injury means money goes down, and Brad loves that.
Yeah, I'm cool on him, to be honest. The ACL, and I would rather have Gilmore.
If he comes with a coupon, maybe you can get him for like 40% off.
Says 1 year, 8.5. I don't know. I'd rather just give me Darius Williams and let's move on, or Stephon Gilmore and Max Melton. There's other guys to me. They're like, dude, we talked about it yesterday with all these free agents that are here and all these different things. You can there's so many options for Brad to kind of work through now, to where you don't have to go out and get this injured thing. I talked about it like for a while yesterday. Let's just move on from bringing these guys in on these prove it deals because they're coming off injuries or they were injured and they were good before that. Like, just go get me a guy that we know is going to play and produce, and he's going to be worth that money. We are at a Super Bowl, time to go win a Super Bowl. It's not time to let's start. The first 3 years you can do that during a rebuild because you're trying to build something up. You're there now. Let's move off of these injured players and these 1 year there's some that we're going to do, but these injury things, I'm just off of that. Give me a Darius Williams, Stephon Gilmore, someone that we know can go out there and make plays right away.
With you, Boone.
All right, let's get to mailbag. See what kind of questions we got today. All right, we'll start. Stephon. Hey, is it Stefan or Stephon? I think it's Stephon.
I like Stephon. I like Stephon.
I like Stephon. But I want to make sure I say your name correct. He says mailbag. Jeff gave Spencer in as a guest. I think you meant to say bring Spencer in as a guest. You know what would be funny if I do the show live while getting my haircut.
Getting your haircut.
Oh, Spencer. I thought I was talking about. I was thinking of other.
I thought he was talking about. Yeah, Spenny.
Oh, well, no, I can't do that.
Is that who we was talking about?
I don't know. You can't do that.
It's not that we don't want to have Spencer on the show.
I would say I think we would
love Spencer.
I think we would love to have Spenny on the show.
We would love to, but I don't want
to.
I don't want to mess with any.
Yeah.
Can
we do it? Is another question.
No, definitely not. Steve and David, mailbag. Are you excited or nervous about the new uniforms? I'm excited. I think it's well overdue.
I'm ready.
I'm excited too. I hope they have black uniforms, even though it probably won't happen. But
they need black uniforms, dude. They need them.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, I'm with Adam here. Adam said you could have him. Technically, we can have him on the show. If we could do whatever we want, we can have him on the show.
No, it's not we. I don't give
exactly.
a shit.
I don't want to get Spencer.
It's not up to us.
Yeah, I mean, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do to us? It's really.
I'm gonna text him tonight. Hey, open invite if you want to come on, brother.
I just don't want to do that because it's gonna. I don't want to put him in that situation.
Well, he probably will say no, but
even if he says yes, I'll be like, I don't think you should do this because I care about. I want him to. I don't want
a baby.
I do hope the all black uniforms bring that back, please. There's people who hate it. I loved it, dude. I'm all, and I think people didn't like it before, but these new black uniforms, look at the Commanders. They're all black ones. There's teams out there with black ones that you don't like them. I just think the newer kind of style jersey.
The helmet that does it.
Maybe it's the helmet, but these newer jerseys and the uniforms, I'm a fan of the black. I'm a big fan of it. The Nike, I think it is. They do a good job.
ETN mailbag. Who you got, Joshua or Naganu? Well, I mean, yeah.
Who's the underdog?
It would definitely. I think it would be Naganu.
All right, I got him.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Joshua's he's a boxer.
Hungry dogs run faster.
Damn, you've been saying that a lot lately. That's the truest shit I've ever heard. Anthony Joshua,
Jason Kelsey.
I would assume Anthony Joshua would be favored, but Naganu knocked down Tyson Fury.
Is there fights this weekend or something?
Like
Oh,
the
there is.
biggest
Sean
fights of
O'Malley.
them all, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, Sean O'Malley's fighting? Oh, hell yeah.
Sugar Sean,
Okay,
baby.
like that.
More than him, bro.
And
Like,
then I think, and then I think Ngannou versus Anthony Joshua. I think they fight this weekend. I could be wrong. Yeah, they do.
Saturday.
I actually think they fight tomorrow. Regardless, yeah, there's some good fights on this weekend for those who like combat sports. Let's get to the next question here.
I just farted.
Sean's
The Lions Den question is: what position is more ready to play day one, D end or cornerback? My guess is corners need time to develop, so draft a D end and then sign a cornerback that's ready to go. No, I think you answered your own question.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think what all four of us would say.
Yeah.
I think you answered. Your guess was correct. Your guess is correct. Oh, there you go.
Did you say defensive end? You are correct.
Yeah. D13, Antrax, Sicario, Cartel, Decent. No, I don't even know what the hell's going on. That's an interesting name.
Pablo Escobar's burners on our YouTube right now.
Yeah, it says Mailbag. How does everyone feel about the prices of the NFL draft for all 3 days for two people? $11,000 all rounds, $5,500 per person, $2,750 for round one per
I'm
person.
lost. You lost, man.
That has to be real quick. That has to be like VIP or something, because that is
There's
insane.
no way.
That's the prices. I did have a friend I went to college with message me today in regards to the pricing and was asking me if I knew anything about the prices, and I was trying to do some research and I couldn't find it. I thought it was free to the public. Like certain spots were free to the public.
Draft? No.
Yeah.
Maybe like in the way back, but bro, like when they show the draft and it'll be like
And they have
those group of Bears fans. Those are probably worth some cheddar.
I figure those are like thousands of dollars, but like just where like you see like the fans in the back and like the crowd.
I bet that's
I figured that's free for the people.
Yeah.
And if it's not, we are doing a show, so you can come watch us. Watch the draft at the boys.
Jeff asked favorite color / type of goldfish cracker. I mean, this is a random one. I gave.
Isn't goldfish all one color?
No. Oh well, the color type would be the cheddar, the extra cheddar. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's like extreme.
Yeah, I got some in the cupboard right now.
Dude, I just
Then
had
you got like the
red hot.
pretzel ones. Then you got like the multicolored ones where they're like
okay.
green.
On me. That's on me. I've only had the
I
orange
mean, I
ones.
feel like they all taste the same. Besides, like
I'm not bougie. I've just had cheddar, dude.
Dude, they have Frank's Red Hot Goldfish. I had them the other day. They're fire.
Fucking Gentry ass.
That's
the most Gentry.
It's like the most random. I mean, you probably
Jeff,
drink
don't
Sour
start
Patch
with this.
Energy with it.
Don't start with this. You don't want to bring this up.
All right, moving on to Sarah. Sarah asks, Mailbag, what's y'all's favorite type of fruit? Hey, strawberry.
Peaches.
Oh, dude, peaches are so good, dude. I like grapes though. I'm a big grape fan.
Ooh, yeah.
My favorite snack, I have this like a couple times a week, is just cutting up a nice apple with some peanut butter, dude. It's
Peanut butter, yeah, Boone.
Dude, one of the best snacks of all time. I do it every couple days, dude. It's so good.
Steve Wild's Mailbag, would you give up sex for 6 months as a trade-off for signing Hunter? I mean,
are you able
oh my gosh, dude!
Are you allowed to beat around the bush?
I just
like,
thought of something.
Pause. But are you able to like find other ways to?
I would seriously
counteract?
consider it.
Oh, yeah, no.
Bring him home.
Hey,
I
heard
the team.
Andrew's like, I don't need another kid. Bring him home.
Bring him home. I'd take one for the team.
Yeah,
real quick,
I could.
Jeff's thinking over there.
Yeah, no.
Can I?
I love football, but
can I give out a scenario real quick?
More.
Real quick scenario here. I heard this. I don't know what that means, Adam, but no.
Yeah, Boone, I don't know.
I heard the scenario on Part of My Take this week. They asked themselves, they said, would you drink pee before every game during the Detroit Lions season? Like maybe just like one drink, not a full cup, just a thing.
Bro.
If the Detroit Lions to go 17-0 and win a Super Bowl.
Cool.
Just one drink, just one boom.
Cool. No, I'm cool.
No.
Dude, I almost to win a Super Bowl, boys.
You could have all.
I am a man of the people. I am a man of the people.
I'm a man of the people. I will drink my own urine.
I've drinking
now?
so much Kool-Aid this year. I would just wash it down with some Kool-Aid, some Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid. If I have to do that for the people of Detroit to get a Super Bowl, dude, I think
that'll be the Booner cocktail. Kool-Aid.
Bro,
I think I would
Booner,
do it.
I don't even, dude.
I think I would do it, dude. 17-0 in a Super Bowl, the greatest season in NFL history. The Detroit Lions. All you have to do is just take one drink, just a boom, like a little shot
of your own.
Like
of your
it's
own?
probably like taking a shot of like tequila or something, just like real quick, like.
Well, what? Hold on. Everyone's piss is dependent on what you have in your body. I don't know what your.
I would make sure. Dude, I would have the cleanest diet of all time for the season.
That is yellow.
No, nice and clear,
No,
dude.
this is
What are we doing here?
It's nice and clear, dude.
I'm telling you though,
Hey.
part of my take, they asked that question and all of them said yes. Big Cat, PFT, they all were like, "Yep, I would do that. I would do it as well for a 17-0 in a Super Bowl."
You got to do it every game.
Just right before every game. 17-0 in a Super Bowl.
times.
I'd
Dude,
rather just watch the
More
game
than that, it
and-
would be 17. You would get the 1 seed, so you would get a
Oh
bye.
no!
1, 2, 3. It would be 20 times.
No,
20
yeah.
shots.
It'd be like 21 games. 21 weeks of you just straight drinking
20. You
piss.
get a bye. I would do it, dude. I want a Super Bowl so bad, dude. I want a Super Bowl
preseason games
so
count
bad.
too?
No, just regular season.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Dante,
so
You guys would owe
151.
me a lot of money. The city of I might be a legend in Detroit if I was the one that had to do that.
And what
Yeah.
would you be known for?
Drinking
Taking the
piss.
Detroit Lions to the Super Bowl and winning,
Nah.
and I would make sure I have the best Kool-Aid
by
videos of
doing
all
what?
time.
By
No.
doing what?
Drinking a shot of pee before every single football game.
No,
Right.
I'm a
Booner,
football
no one-
guy. I'm a guy. I'm a dude.
I
would
don't
do
want
it.
to be in like breath distance from your ass. Dude. Like,
All
if
right,
you're drinking
I'm gonna go win a
piss,
Super Bowl. You should,
Then you could
You know what?
stay. You got a social distance from me,
Jeff.
You
know-
better be 6 feet away at all times. If I smell
You're
just
starting to make me a little mad because if I did that for the people, and if I went and got you a Super Bowl, if I got you a Super Bowl and you wouldn't even talk to me,
bro,
we would have a problem.
Would you talk to somebody that drinks their own pee, Booner?
yeah, I
Just
would.
don't
call-
shit
if they're-
somebody
if
that
they're
does
doing
that?
it-
No, you wouldn't.
If they're
You
doing it
wouldn't.
for a Detroit Lions Super Bowl, I would
No.
talk to them.
Let
I'd
me
give
let me
them a
read
hug.
this. Let me read this super chat. I don't know if I think I forgot to. Dante 151. Pistons just beat the Nets 118-112. 10 wins.
Oh, hit 10. Woohoo.
Who gives
Double
a fuck?
digits.
Dante, thank you. I love your profile picture, by the way. Thank you for the
Shout out,
$2.
Dante.
Yeah, 10 wins. Only about
5 more to
30
go.
more to go. Without that
sucks.
many games left. You know, it is what it is. Jesus.
And I want
Can we get-
people to know this
get
as
to
well.
11?
I'm not drinking my pee whatsoever. Like this was a scenario to where if you
You
knew
did
the
this
line,
to yourself, Booner.
I'm not doing it. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
doing
feel like
it.
you honestly, I think you like that was a buddy of yours that typed that because you knew what you were going to answer. I
You're
feel
like, hey, let me.
No, dude, I brought that up myself. I saw it on
I'm
it was
kidding. I'm kidding.
it was on Pardon My Take. Like that's where I
No,
saw
no, Boone, you're a.
I'm not gonna do I
you're
would
a
never
man
drink
of
my
people.
pee in real life.
You're-
But
you're a man
if it
of
was for a
people.
Super Bowl, I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I'm a bitch. Like I'm not drinking
Don't,
pee.
don't do that to yourself.
I don't think you're a
I'm-
bitch for not wanting to drink pee, Jeff.
Well,
Yeah, you're
compared
not.
to
You're
hey,
not.
then that's
Voice
fine.
of reason speaks.
And if we're being dead
Thank you,
honest,
Mike.
I don't want to do. I do not want to drink pee like that. Oh, that would be terrible. But if I knew it was a lot,
Nah.
man.
All right, we got to get this. We're done with the pee shit. All right, we're out of here, man.
Again.
What's
All
a
right,
bit like?
this
That's
is
the
this is-
Booner
this is a
path.
nice show.
Again, I am the leader of the Booner Path. I do whatever it takes for the people. So all of the people in there that are trying to come at me right now, I would do anything for you guys to have a Super Bowl. I am a
What do
leader
you
of
got
the
to
Booner
do to
Path.
get into the
What do you
Booner
mean by
path?
that?
No, I'm just saying I'm the leader of the Booner Path. I would do anything to make sure the Booner Path
Anything?
gets to an NFC Championship game, a Super Bowl, and I bring home a Lombardi trophy for the city of Detroit.
What do you
Okay.
mean by that?
Anything.
mean?
By anything. He'll do anything.
Can we all just let's all just drop Booner Path thing in the
All right,
where's
you
it
know
at?
what? Yeah, we're getting out of here.
We're
Appreciate
getting
you
out.
Everyone
guys.
drop the Booner Path in the chat.
Booner,
Uh,
you did have some news you needed to break before we end the show. You said you were going to announce something tonight.
Oh yeah, it's sad day. The mullet's gonna be gone the next time I get a haircut.
One last time. One last
I'm
time.
I'm over the mullet, man. No, it's gonna be for a couple days. I have to wait until next week, but the mullet's gonna be gone. Tired of it.
Well, I'm
yeah.
proud of you for
Adam.
trying it, Boone.
Hey,
Awesome.
Boone, you're a beast. You're a beast.
Love you guys.
Don't matter if you have the
I
mullet or
love the
not,
chat. I
fucking
love all
beast.
the people in the chat, man.
Adam,
right,
they do.
okay.
I love you.
Adam,
I
love you, fellas.
Love you, Adam.
Appreciate everyone for tuning in. It was a fun show. I mean, the end got a little weird, but hey, it's a nice show. It's gonna happen. Hey, tomorrow we'll be back. Scott Bischoff will be joining the program to kind of give us his risers and fallers from the NFL Combine. You guys, all the NFL draft geeks or just fans of the NFL, you guys are going to want to tune in for that. It's gonna be a masterclass performance tomorrow from Scott. So tune in for that. And have a great Thursday, everybody. We'll see you later. Appreciate you. There's Booner.